Hello,
Hello.
everybody. It's TACIS time. How are you doing today, Josie? I'm Luxander. That's Josie. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I have been rushing around. I literally just got here about 2 minutes ago. I made it in time. It's important. I got to be here for all the folks. And
That's what matters.
yeah, just it's what matters. And just remember, everybody, to make sure you like and subscribe the show where you get to actually talk to real life trans people about, trans things or anything that you would like to talk about, really. So yeah, call in or use the web link to make sure to talk to us because we are ready to hear your calls. But Lux,
Yeah.
how are you today?
I'm doing okay. My partner finally has secured himself a new vehicle since we moved up here. And so I have my car back, which means that I can do things like go tend my garden plot. So I did a little bit of that today. It's looking real scraggly because I haven't been out there very much. But it's wonderful. It's freeing to be like, oh, look at that. My entire 40-hour work week. I now have the ability to go places. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. And then I was rushing around
Yeah,
trying to get here. I got my tea like steeped, but I didn't have time to put any milk or anything in it. So we're just gonna have plain tea today. Yay.
just plain tea, which is
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
the
yeah.
best tea. So
True. Starting off every tacos with
great.
talk about tea.
Yes, yes, don't spill it. Anyways, I think we're gonna go ahead and take a look at our last week's poll, I believe. Or are we taking a call first? I cannot.
Let's go ahead and look at last
My
week's
mind
poll
is.
and chit chat about
Yeah,
it.
we'll do that.
I gotta make sure to get all my stuff actually up here so I can see it. Ah, yes. Should the opinions of trans people be considered when healthcare policies are being crafted? Did you look at any of the comments on this one from last week, or what's your opinion?
I did not have a chance. I was traveling for work all week, so I was
Nice.
I was in Washington State to Detroit to Madison, back to Detroit, back home. So it was
Busy, busy.
a
Yeah.
lot. Very, very busy. Um,
Yep.
yes, I did not get to see the comments, but it looks pretty clear. 93% say yes. Trans people should be considered when healthcare policies are being crafted, as trans healthcare is doctor prescribed healthcare and should be part of the conversation.
Yeah. People were annoying. I find I'm like, why are you trying so hard? I must assume that it's none of you in chat right now who are annoying on the polls. Because there's a bunch of people who are like, well, opinions shouldn't be part of healthcare. Like, actually, patient opinions are taken into account literally anytime you're crafting a personalized health plan for anyone. And then you are a couple of people who are like, well, actually, hold on, I got to put my glasses back on so that I can do it properly. Well, actually, it should only be qualified professionals. And it's like, okay, first of all, I can't even tell you how many trans people I know who have had to teach their GP or endocrinologist how to do trans healthcare. Because if they went to one seminar for 1 hour about LGBTQ health, guess what? They don't know anything about anything. And it's like a similar thing to chronic illness where, you can't uh like, oh yeah, I understand that you have a medical degree, but don't mistake your one seminar on my complex issue for my decade of living with that health issue. So yeah, there's that implication that trans people are by default unqualified to have their opinions stated. And some people were basically just like, yeah, we should care about facts, but also like it would be as though the similar issue of people uh, losing access to abortion based on what a bunch of cis white male doctors are doing. And so, yeah, it's you need nothing about us without us is the phrase, right?
Yeah, no, it's so true, and I think, and there's like people use opinions in different ways in language as well.
Mm,
So it's like I can't tell you how many times somebody was like, "You can't disagree with my opinion," and they're like stating like a certain class of people just need to be eradicated, and it's like,
yeah.
it's like, yeah, I can actually disagree with that opinion, and then certain people are just like an opinion. My favorite color is blue or something, and
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, that's an opinion. I can't really disagree with that, right? But so there's like like different ways of like how people use the word opinion. So I can see why people are like, well, actually,
Yeah.
going about it, because it's like the Jordan Peterson approach. It's like, what do you mean by believe? Like
Oh
it's
my
just like,
god. I
it's
feel
just
bad
like
whenever I do that. If someone is like, "I have a question, blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Well, what do you mean by blah blah blah?" Because I need to know what you're asking, actually. Uh,
yeah, it's just like it's a very interesting state of affairs. But it was a good poll question. I'm glad that people fell in the direction of letting trans people have a thought about how healthcare should be administrated. That should be
what?
pretty important. Yeah,
Yep.
wild, wild. Yeah, so we'll get the calls, and certain people in chat are asking why all the travel. Well, the first part of my travel in Washington State, I jumped in a glacier lake in the mountains, and it was incredible. It
That
was
sounds
so
incredible.
refreshing. It was, and also that mountain kicked my ass. It was the Enchantments Traverse in Washington State, and it was a pretty tough mountain. Got some good bumps and bruises. I even have one on my wrist. Well, I guess you can't see it, so like even one on my wrist, you can kind of see
Oh
it tuned in
yeah.
right now. Yeah. But yeah, it's my my legs. But that was great. I did that, and then immediately when I got home, I had to go to a convening for Building Trans Power, which is like a table full of like other trans leaders of other organizations across the country, discussing about what the state of the trans movement is and some strategies of what to deal with. Which we talked about ballot initiatives that are going to be coming in next year, which is very scary that they're actually going to be passing. They're going to be trying to pass a lot of public ballot initiatives that are anti-trans in a lot of ways,
Mm,
from anything from redefinition of gender to parental rights legislation that basically stops the ability for people to be taught about trans issues. And they're in Texas, they are trying to pass a proposition this year that is going to force parents of their children to use their biological pronouns and use that as a form of negative uses toward custody hearings. So for
mm,
example, if they say, "Oh, you use your child's preferred pronouns," then we can now take your child away from the parent that doesn't want to do that. So it's a very it's a very, very scary situation there. And then there's just a lot of nonsense all over the country happening. And then I went to Madison for another convening that was specifically around trans election power, so building
mhm.
political power for the trans community. So yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of deep thinking, table think tanky type of stuff. So I'm exhausted.
I
I just
bet.
got back a few days ago, and then my flights were delayed, so I had an extra 24 hours of travel that I had to deal with. So it's like, anyways, that's why I was traveling a lot. And
Oh
then, yeah,
gosh.
so I know. And then I travel to San Diego next week. So, yeah,
No
yeah.
rest for the
This,
weary. Yay.
nope, nope, not at all, not at all.
Awesome.
Anyway, so how about we take our first call? And remember, we have our lines open right now, and we have some space
This
in the
week's
calls.
poll.
So,
Wait, this week's
oh,
poll. Speaking of how
oh
bad
gosh,
everything is,
yes, let's talk
we
about
have a
how
new
things
poll
are
for this
worse.
week. Yes, we're only going to just tell you what the poll is now, and we'll discuss it in a minute. And if we can get it up in the chat for you to vote in the chat, we'll get that up for you. The question for this week is: it time for Canada and other countries to accept transgender refugees from America? We will talk about it more. I can hear
So,
you. I don't know if they can hear you.
yeah. So, I'm really interested what the results of this is gonna be.
Yep.
I'm very, very interested. Because for me, have thoughts about what justifies the link that is, and there's a lot of like lines that could be crossed. So yeah, I'm very curious. But we're gonna move on to the calls. We just put the poll in the chat. So we'll review that soon. So great. So let's go ahead and get to calls.
Which we still have
Let's
plenty
go
of
ahead
room
and
for
take a
more
look.
calls. So if people want to call in,
Yes.
numbers down in the description. Give us a chat.
Yeah. Great. So how about what are you thinking on who to pick
Um,
up first?
Oh gosh. I mean, we can just start with the first person and see if anything
Okay.
spicier comes in.
Okay, great. I will go ahead and bring him in. Gia, she, her, Virginia, wants to ask about transitioning as far as the personal journey. So, Gia, what do you want to chat to us about?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of like the broad part of it. When I was talking before I joined the call, I have like two main things talking about. I've been transitioning for over a year, but I guess my first question is, since transitioning, I've noticed with the community of people that I've been making friends with and talking to, there has been almost like a disdain for non-binary people. And I've been trying to be a better ally and support people and trying to reason with them and understand, well, what are your opinions? And a lot of like their opinions are, well, they're not trans people and like they're like taking our space. And it kind of sounds like this like weird battle for no reason between like each other and like the LGBTQ plus like community, but I don't know what to say to them because it's very hard for me to explain what non-binary is. And I think that's kind of like my first question, if that's okay, is like I understand the basis. It's just I don't have any non-binary friends, and like I'm trying, I have Google, but I'm like, from you guys, maybe like you can explain it better.
Sure. Yeah, I'm the non-binary person on the network right now. So happy to answer that question. I mean, I think when people have this view of like, I don't like non-binary people, I think what they have in their mind is the idea of a non-transitioning person who wants to be considered part of the community. Because like the overwhelming majority of non-binary people that I know are seeking physical transition, and in most spaces they are perceived as, or they are okay being perceived as, a binary trans person. And like I can't even tell you how many trans women, once you get to know them a little bit better, who say, actually I'm non-binary, but that is an unpopular thing to say, so I just, it's close enough, it's good enough for people to say I'm a trans woman, so I just kind of run with that. Like non-binary people, we have the same problem of like, we do not like the gender we were assigned at birth. So we share that in common with any other trans person. And it's just that like, it's not a clear, oh, for sure I'm the opposite thing. Like I had a period of time where I was like, oh, I guess I'm a trans man. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then it turned out that I hate that. And like in every situation where I've tried to be stealth as a masculine person, it has made me feel not bad in the same way, but still bad, like as being in the world, like as a feminine person. So I've like, my dysphoria has chilled out since then. So it's not as big of a deal to me now. But there was definitely a period of time where I was like trying to find the right gender performance that would make me feel good about myself and that would cause people to treat me the way that I want to be treated. Um, so I think that that's like the thing to focus on. If you're trying to appeal to someone who is like against non-binary people, go like, wow, do you remember how alienating it was growing up as your assigned gender and how awful that was? And like how much better you felt when you realized who you were and you found community in that? Well, imagine if you felt that way and then you tried to join the trans people club and they were like, we hate you, get out of here. Like how unmooring that would be and how like difficult that would be for you to still have the same alienation from your birth gender, but because you don't fit neatly into the opposite, like suddenly that makes you not trans. Yeah. And like I said, a lot of non-binary people seek physical transition and have dysphoria. And the ones who don't, or I mean, the ones who don't transition, you can't just assume it's because they don't want to, right? It might be like they might be stuck in their situation because of family. And so if a non-binary person is not valid because they haven't transitioned, well then neither is your egg that just hatched friend. Like she's also not really trans if that's the criteria. So I don't know if that kind of helps lay out some of the groundwork for you.
Oh yeah, it definitely helps. Like, you can't see it, but I've been like nodding the entire time. And I
Sure.
really appreciate you putting it away I can understand. It's like I have a sibling who identifies as a very feminine gay man, but the conversations that I've had with, my sibling and just knowing them my whole life and everything, part of it, I think, with them is that I think they're kind of an egg because they're afraid to take away, like almost like to take away resources or something. It's like this, how do you call it? Like, so like wrong, like thought process, but they feel like guilty almost like adding that. But I want to explore that more with them. And I think one of the parts of doing that and like with our community is again, like asking these questions. And I'm learning always so much from you guys. And I love watching the show. So I really appreciate it. But could I go ask my second question? It's kind of more spicy, but like not because I have like a bigoted opinion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other conversation that comes up with other people in the community is there's also this anger towards people where they're like, and it's kind of like the Blair White thing where it's like, she's really ripping on people like Lily Tino, and it's like controversial, but the whole thing is like, how can you be upset about being misgendered or treated like the opposite sex if you're not putting in enough effort or X, Y, and Z? And I think it's like just such a bigoted, like annoying opinion of like Blair White and people like that, because it's like you have no idea what other people are going through or their lives or like how much they're trying. Like not everyone has money to even get on hormones or like was in the military. Like I use the VA stuff too. Like I think Josie, you mentioned you were in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yes.
like I use the VA, and it's like if I didn't have the VA to provide my estrogen, none of this would have been possible. And it's like I still get misgendered all the time, and it's like I put a lot of effort in. So it's like, who are they to say these things like, oh, you don't put enough effort in, you look like a man, or like vice versa? And I don't know how to reason with these people, because it's like we're supposed to be allies in this community and support each other, but it's like, why?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. So yeah, I definitely first I just want to say I also started my transition through the Veterans Administration as well. And now I just recently was elected as president of the Transgender American Veteran Association over the last week as well. So I definitely understand
Awesome.
yeah, thank you. So one of the things I want to say about that is there throughout all movements, there's always been an assimilationist line of things, where it's like, oh, we're going to assimilate as closely as possible to the gender norms or the way people live in society, so therefore we are seen as the quote unquote good ones, right? It always happens throughout all social movements of like, okay, I'm fitting into the box, now you can't oppress me anymore, right? And a lot of the Blair White, especially early Blair White, it was even worse. It's just hard to believe. um her whole channel started in making fun of gender nonconforming folks or people that were more visibly trans or visibly queer in any specific way, to point and laugh and say, see, I'm better than them, I'm the good trans. And so what they do is they paint an enemy so therefore they can then join the mob of poking fun at the people who don't fit into the stereotypical box of what people are supposed to look like. We also have to remember that this has happened to people who are cis women who aren't feminine, right? We know through the way butch women have been treated throughout history. We also know the same with feminine men and gay men being treated this way in history as well, where they would point and say, you're not manly enough and you're not feminine enough, and then would be abused and marginalized just by the mere look and appearance. So unfortunately, this isn't new. This isn't a new strategy that just kind of came out of nowhere. There's always going to be folks who are going to say, I'm the good one, so please don't oppress me. Please don't discriminate against me. And they try to use this argument as though this is what's going to save them. And so it is a tool of straw manning entire communities, as well as radical and not worthy of being listened to. So they can say, oh, this person doesn't look like society, so therefore their views and their rights don't matter either. And you can probably see it in the pattern of like the Blair White content, and not just Blair White, but other, I to use the word pick-me's or other people who say I'm the good ones. Their content is almost exactly, it's like manufactured. It's so predictable, where they find visibly queer people and then go ahead and just create content based on the looks and the words of queer people, and saying, look, I'm not this unhinged, so therefore you have to like me.
And I feel like it's easier to punch sideways. Like when you're faced with overwhelming fascist oppression, you're feeling powerless, and so lots of people kind of just start turning on people who don't have power. And in fact, I think that to some degree, like binary trans people who are like this are trying to, I mean, I'm kind of just spinning what Josie just said in a different way. What they're trying to do is have access to power. They want access to control and power. And so if they can say like, well, I'm the arbiter of who's really trans, like then they have power over who's allowed in the community. They have power over critical resources. They can gatekeep and decide who needs it or not. And that is kind of an intoxicating sensation to have. And like, man, I'm going to make a whole video essay about Dedra Meero from Star Wars Andor, because it's that same thing where like,
I love
you're
her.
a person of marginalization. Thank you, God. I feel like I'm insane saying that I love Dedra Meero. But the point is, like, a marginalized person within a power structure is both subject to that power structure, but also is trying to abuse it to make themselves feel powerful. So yeah,
Well,
that's my opinion on why people do that.
And also just to verify, I love Dedra Meero as the character archetype of being oppressed by the system and trying to be the one that rises to the top. I would not
Sure.
like a Dedra Meero in real life.
No, of course,
I just
yeah.
want to be absolutely clear that she is a Nazi and she is a bad person, but the way she is written as an archetype is incredibly fascinating to be able to observe and monitor and see how that parallels into real life. So I just want to be crystal clear.
No, I stan. Sorry.
Well, actually.
Anyway.
Anyways,
Yeah,
yes, Gia,
I
does
really
that answer your
appreciate that.
question?
Yes, and we try and meet people, at least in my head, it's like I try and meet people where they're at so I can understand, like, why the hell are you trying to die on this hill? And it's like, it in like the most brutish way possible. It kind of reminds me, like, my grandpa was a POW from Stalingrad, and he spoke both Romanian and Russian. So in the camp that he was in, the Gulag, they made him one of those like penal battalion people that it's like, you're a prisoner, but like we'll treat you better because you're not exactly like those other prisoners, like the Nazis and stuff. So, and that's because, he was a Romanian man, and it's like he basically like learned like everything around the camp and had like these privileges and had to kind of do horrible things to his peers that were also prisoners of war to the Russians, and that led to him being able to like escape and do all those things. But I know like my dad has told me like how guilty he felt from that, and it's like I can only wonder like when it gets to like this time where the fascist government takes over and does these things where it's like they're already here. It's like, when is Blair White going to be told, okay, good one, face the wall?
We have instances in history where this always happens, right? And usually what ends up happening is a lot of people just try to disappear and try to assimilate and change everything about themselves and just pretend that they are cis, or to pretend like it even happened in the black community where people would be considered passable in just looking white enough to be able to not be black. And so that's why they created like one drop rules and things like that, where it's like, oh, you're black enough, like you have a family member, we found your history, and
Hmm.
that's essentially where it is, and it just becomes this. You get to like you have to be more pure and more pure and more pure until there's nobody left, and except for the one group that says they're the ones. And so it's always been a fool's errand, and it's always been something that has happened. And I think Lux was right on the money when it comes to being able to have power, because if you can be a bully and be cheered on for it, that is a very short-lived but very gratifying feeling for some people when they'd rather not be the one on the ground. It's like, I will punch them in the face and throw them to the ground if you want me to, so I'm not punched in the face and thrown to the ground. And it's a survival mechanism that certain people do, and it's very horrifying to know that people are complicit to this type of fight. Like, even when you go back to Nazi Germany, you have members of the Jewish community that were collaborating with the Nazis, hoping that they were the good Jewish people, but in the end of the day, like, that didn't save them either. And that's kind of where we know how history kind of plays out. And it's one of those situations where we will have to continue the fight and fight for people like Blair. And that's what something Blair will never understand. That's what a lot of these content creators will never understand. The trans community as a whole are fighting for their rights too. And so they can punch down on us or punch sideways on us as much as they can or much as they want. But at the end of the day, our rights and our trans liberation comes with theirs as well. And that's what we will just have to continue to do.
Yeah. I want to add on, and this will be my last word on this. You've reminded me of a book that I didn't read the entire book, but I was like looking at it because I was interested in what this message was. So, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Frankl is a Holocaust survivor, and the thing that he is discussing in the book is like, literally like some of the prisoners who were given the task of being in charge of other prisoners, and like the moral degradation that happens to people when they're put in these situations. And obviously that's a very extreme version, but I'm kind of seeing this being a buildup toward that, where it's like, I'm setting aside my morals that I should support other trans people and that we are the same. Like, I'm closer to this non-binary person than I am to our oppressors. And like, yeah, that sort of just, you lose your moral center in intense survival situations where you feel like you will die if you don't compromise those morals. So I just thought it was really interesting. Good reading for anybody who wants to delve further into that topic.
A very, very, very powerful read. And it allows you to understand, even in the darkest times, you can always find your hope and happiness in your own mind, and they can't take that away from you. And because at the end of the day, their power lies in us feeling that it's over. And if we can never give them that, we win. And so definitely, definitely check out Viktor Franko's Man's Search for Meaning. Very, very, very powerful read. Well, thank you, Gia.
Yeah, thank you guys so
Great.
much. I love you
Yeah.
guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. And uh, I was I made sure I was going to say this. Shout out Arden. I love you, Arden. I know you're going to listen to this one day if you're not producing it or something. But I love all you guys. Keep doing everything. Yeah.
For
Appreciate
sure.
you. Thank you
I'll
so
pass it
much and
on.
have a great day, okay? All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's are we gonna go
You
over
want to
the
look at the poll since
people's
we?
choice poll? Yeah. Since that
Yeah.
was yeah, that was good. So it looks like the poll came out to be 96% yes and 4% no. Which is a decent result. I mean, I think there are cases where people are starting to think about that. I was having a very deep philosophical conversation with the leader of Tent, which is Emmett, who is Tent is the Texas trans rights group, and we were having a very direct and conversation about where he was like, I don't know, but it might be time for me to start thinking about finding another home outside of Texas. And it's so sad because he's like the leader of the entire trans like Texas movement that is happening
Yeah.
right now. And it's just like and we were talking about, when do we pull the ripcord? When do we say we need to move out of a
Mhm.
place, even though we're still trying
Move
to fight for
operations
our
somewhere else.
liberation?
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, it's a very scary time, and I think if somebody's willing to move out of the state, I think they should be welcome to move into another nation in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Any
the reason
last
why
thoughts on
this
that?
is our poll, and if you guys want to put your comments, like any further details, always go to the posts page on our channel, which you can, kind of weigh in a little bit more in detail. But the reason why we're talking about this, and if any of you don't know, the precedent for this, typically speaking, Canada will not allow in refugees or asylum seekers if there is a safe place within your own country. So what has been the case for a long time is, well, Minnesota declared itself a sanctuary state, and Oregon did too. So you have safe places to go within your country. And a lot of us are taking that option. I moved from Kansas to Oregon. It's wonderful. It feels good to know that my elected officials are going to fight on my behalf instead of kneecapping my rights and the rights of people I care about. But Canada has, yeah, been like, well, you have a safe place in your own country. However, there was a case, or an ongoing case, where a Canadian judge has halted the deportation of a non-binary American on the basis that the United States may be unsafe for them as a whole. So it seems like things are getting bad enough on a federal level that at least this one judge is considering that we may need to start opening up the possibility of, like, allowing people to emigrate, allowing people to seek asylum on the basis that, and specifically for a non-binary person, obviously, like, we have zero legal protections or recognition. So it may be like they consider that an elevated risk. I haven't really looked into the details of the case. But if you're interested in reading more about it, I'll go ahead and pop a link in the chat right now.
Yeah, thank you for that. And also, I just want to do a quick plug for myself, really quick. I just launched my website, josieformaryland.com. And one of the things I will say about this community, and which I'm super excited as I'm running for Montgomery County Council, it's really nice as the days go on and the videos are getting watched, that I'm getting a lot of small dollar donations from all of you, and
Yes.
it's so gratifying to see, because I am 100% people powered campaign, and to be able to see donations rolling in constantly throughout the day and throughout the week is incredibly empowering to our campaign, and making sure that we continue to do the work to do this stuff. And wouldn't it be great to have a trans woman on the other side of the DC border saying, I'm here? And so that's one of the things. So thank you for all of you that have donated, and thank you for all of you that will. So go to josieformaryland.com. It just officially launched today as far as the website. So had to do
Yes.
the plug, had to do the plug. Thank you.
Yes. More trans elected
Great.
officials. Let's go.
Let's go. All right. So since we're talking about Canada, I think we should go ahead and bring in Russell.
Sure.
from Canada. Russell, he, him from Canada wants to talk about gender identity set from birth, or is it a dynamic thing that a person settles into? Russell, what do you like to add anything to that and or context to your question?
Yeah, just a little context really quick. Long story short, friends having a kid, we're joking about gender reveal parties and how that terminology doesn't exactly work for a newborn. But we were discussing what basically came down to the how much of it is nature versus nurture, and what do we know on that topic. Um, she was essentially of the opinion that you're born essentially aligned with your sex at birth, but then in those early formative years, that it's fluid enough before it settles in, and then that's what you are. I was under the impression it's more of you're born that way versus not kind of thing. But I also have no idea what the science on the topic is, and I figured the best people to call would either be TACIS or Forrest, and now I'm here.
Both are good options. Yeah. I mean, I don't think we have a ton of like data on when gender identity is formed. I think basically preliminarily, it seems like in the research that I've seen on neurodevelopment for children, it seems like if you give kids the space to know that being trans is an option, or like rather that you can grow up to be whoever you want to be, and that includes gender, basically between the ages of 3 and 5, kids can start to form like a solid perception of their own gender, of like they can look at these different categories of people and say, I clearly feel like I belong to this group, regardless of their physiology. We don't really know what causes that. And the question of like, is it nature versus nurture? Like, well, there's a prevalent theory at the moment that it basically is something that is caused by hormonal exposure during gestation. So that's a really great question. Is that nature or nurture? Is that intrinsic biology, or is that an environmental factor that like you develop your genitals fairly early in the process of your mom being pregnant, and then your brain develops kind of later? So if you have like a wash of hormones at that particular stage of development where your brain is getting an idea of what the body is supposed to look like, then that could be part of what makes people trans, right? Like my mom has like hormonal differences, like PCOS, like slightly elevated testosterone. So it's like, yeah, was that something environmental, or is that something to do with my literal DNA? Like, I don't think that there's a real clear answer on that. And certainly, I guess the one environmental thing you could say is that difference of like, okay, they know that they're trans around age 5 if they're given the context of knowing that that's an option. um like, yeah, maybe people would be less likely to identify with or transition, or might do it later in life if we don't present them with that option early on. Does that mean that environmental influence is making people trans or not? I couldn't really say.
Yeah, I will say this because for me I'm always going to take the social approach more than the biological approach in a lot of these conversations because that's my expertise. And one of the things that we kind of understand about people is the kind of like orientation of how people are. So like, sexual orientation, then you have gender identity, gender expression, and then your sex assigned at birth. And I will also say that where relationship configurations are oriented as well. Some people like zero, some people like many, and or just one. And so there's like these different things that we understand about our own selves. And so when we talk about gender identity, we are able to understand that sometimes people are going to figure out their gender identity as early as 3 or 4. We've seen evidence of this happening. And then we also have people that figure it out much later in their lives as well. I feel like everybody's kind of on their own journey. I kind of tend to say it's kind of like we're born this way type of situation, regardless of how that happened, type of situation. Now, what we do know from studies is that people were more likely to repress their gender identities and sexual orientations due to social stigma and pressures, and like comp het and also comp cis het that exists a lot in our communities. So if you want to say there is a nurture approach, it's usually in the negative. It's never really in the positive. And what I mean by that is when I was born and raised, I was raised in rural conservative Texas, where we did not get queer education, we did not get trans education, we didn't get homosexual education, we got none of that. And so it was so stigmatized that there were people who were literally afraid to come out, even though it was obvious for themselves that they did it. And that's one of the reasons that contributed to me not coming out until I was 34 years old. And if it was 100% nurture, I wouldn't be trans, right? Like
Yeah.
it wouldn't make sense, right? It would just be like, oh, it just never would have happened. And we can see that that kind of disproves the nurture argument in a lot of ways, that it is only 100% nurture, because I think most people, if it was nurtured into them, they would not be trans, because society would not allow them to be, in a sense,
Mhm.
in most cases. And then when you're in a more accepting environment, there is the ability for people to be like, oh, I get to explore this thing about myself, be it gender identity, be it sexual orientation, be it relationship configuration, and all of the above, and gender expression as well. And so people are able to explore, so therefore it tends to come out sooner, because there's no barriers to the journey or an exploration about oneself. And so I do believe that it is a little bit of both. However, the nurture is more in line of how soon will somebody be able to discover something about themselves that was already there, is kind of where the nurture is. Are you going to discover it sooner because you were given the opportunity to understand yourself better? Or will you discover it later because you weren't given those same tools to discover it sooner either? But it's more of a discovery of something that was already there. It's not a creation of something. So I truly believe that. And so there are people who think differently, but I do believe that it's something intrinsic that is kind of innate in all of us when it comes to identities of oneself. Does that make sense, Russell?
Absolutely. That was basically my argument with her, actually, was that I was of more of the line that the expression portion is the thing influenced by the nurture. The identity was more of a biological, genetic, epigenetic kind of thing. But I'm not a scientist. I don't know. So I was curious. I'll have to look into that thing about at what age people start reporting this, because I think that would be useful for that conversation.
Sure.
But yeah, thank you. You guys basically touched
Yeah.
on the points I was asking about. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Efficiency.
good. Well, yes, I love it. I love it. And hopefully Canada will accept our refugees from the United States.
Yeah, you should tell your politicians to
Some
please
of you are
accept
refugees.
trans refugees.
All right.
But yes,
All
oh
right,
god.
friend. Yeah, it's a scary time. Well, thank you, Russell, and you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
All right, bye-bye.
Before we do anything, y'all need to hit the like button. What are you doing? We have like fewer viewers than normal
Yeah.
today. Get on that shit, okay? You can also share this to your social media and get more people in here, okay? Support the show. It's quick, it's easy, it's free. Hit the like button. Thank you. Also, get your super chats in. $5 or more, we read them out. You can vote on who's the winner today. It's a whole thing.
And subscriptions are free too.
That's
So
also
make
true.
sure you do that.
Hit the
Yes. There's
bell
a
and
lot
get
of great
notified when
content.
all of our other great shows go live.
Look at you. I love it.
You know. Plugging is part of the job.
Plug. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Great. So I think we should just go from the top down for now. Is that fine with
Mhm.
you?
Works for
Okay,
me.
great. So we'll be taking Caleb, him from Illinois, wants to ask us about classism of bathrooms. Yeah, Caleb, explain.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. So I was having a conversation with my dad the other day, who is very homophobic and very transphobic. And he is of the opinion that people who have a penis should not go into the women's bathroom. And I didn't really know what to say to that, because it's just such a tired kind of argument at that. But I asked him if he thought that people who are plumbers or are handymen or anything like that, if they are men, if they wouldn't be allowed in a women's bathroom too. And he didn't really have an answer to that. So I guess my question is, do you think that that's like a good line of attack for kind of this rhetoric around who gets to use which bathrooms, or just kind of what your opinions were on that kind of line of thought?
I do think it's interesting, although the argument that I would make if I was your dad would be, oh, well, obviously they closed the restroom and nobody can go pee in there while the plumber's fixing it. I think a better question would be, if there is a question about a woman being in the bathroom, if somebody suspects she's trans, should a male police officer enter that bathroom in order to get that person and arrest them? Because that's something that's been happening. And and I'm going to contextualize this for you. There was a situation where a black butch lesbian was using a Walmart bathroom. She was changing out her tampon, and a male police officer came in because someone had called the police on her. So you're dealing with a situation where a woman who is supposed to be in there by any stretch of the imagination, like from anybody's perspective, she should be in there. And then male police officers coming in there to arrest and accost her. Is that appropriate? Would be probably a more poignant question to ask. And like, who decides? Like, is there going to be a policeman at the door? Do you have to flash your boobs or your genitals in order to get in? Who's going to be checking? How are we going to enforce that? What is the punishment mechanism going to be? And how do we 100% ensure that there is never, ever, ever going to be a cisgender woman who is subject to that level of scrutiny? Is it possible for us to place any amount of scrutiny on who goes in the women's room without catching strays and like catching up more people in that net than we mean to? That would be what I would go with. Yeah, how do you tell who has a penis? Chatter says.
Yeah, and Caleb, I think that is always a very good line of reasoning toward somebody who is like more on the conservative spectrum of things, is like, how big do you want the government to actually be? Like, who's
True.
going to be who's going to be the gender police? Is that going to be the state that puts a police officer at every or a gender police officer in every rest stop on the freeway, every restaurant, every place in the entire area? And it starts getting very absurd very quickly, because I'm like, okay, who's going to be the genital tapper? Who's going to volunteer for that job? Those type of things are very, very
Yeah,
real,
a creep.
because yeah, I know. It's like, oh, I want to be the genital tapper in the girls' bathroom. Put me somewhere nice,
Like sicko. Sicko's outside the
It's
window.
yeah, exactly. So there's always a really good argument to be of like extending somebody's large logic all the way through. It's like, okay, I waved the magic wand. Bathrooms are now like heavily enforced, and women can't, trans women can't go into the restroom anymore. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, you're the governor that is required to pass this. How are you going to enforce this law? And make them come up with it, right? Let them come up with the way that they would do it, and then ask them, that doesn't sound like very small government to you, and now, do you really want your billions of tax dollars to go to that instead? Like, it really becomes it becomes a very absurd thing, eventually, when you start playing it all the way through, when you're trying to have these type of arguments. And and of course you can have the edge case conversations about, what if somebody got in a motorcycle accident and their penis was completely like ruined and is no longer there anymore, or like, there's
Mm.
so many different things that happen. It's like, why? And because then you start thinking about, why is the penis the issue, right? Like you know wouldn't let's say it's a person who's a cis woman, what if they were a predator of other women? Or what if it's a man that is a predator of other men? And it just becomes this really unobtainable ball of wax. And then once you're able to like get to this point of absolute absurdity, you can just be like, so why do you care about this so much? Is it about the
Mm.
safety of other women? Is that what it is? Because if it is that, there's already laws in the books that protect people from being assaulted that way. Because it's like, playing out the scenario, let's say there is a predatory man, Do you think a bathroom sign is gonna stop them from committing a sexual crime against somebody in there? No, it's not, because they're there to commit a crime, and even if
Mm.
there was, like, a person who is dressed up as a trans person or even a trans person themselves, and they were like, "I'm trans, so I have the ability to sexually assault people because I'm a trans person." Like, that
Yeah,
doesn't
like assault
exist
is still illegal.
either. Yeah, it doesn't matter who commits the assault, whoever commits the crime. So this idea that we're going to kind of like patrol the bathrooms to try to prevent assault is so absurd in so many different ways, and then it just becomes an ideological argument of that trans people shouldn't be able to have the opportunity to live in public spaces, because that's what eventually happens, Caleb. If you were to say that you can't use the bathroom as a trans person, then essentially what ends up happening is you're basically eliminating people's ability to actually exist in public spaces, and that's really what it's about. It's exactly what they did for black and white bathrooms, where they didn't put black bathrooms around other places in like the city and town. So therefore, black people couldn't go to those areas of town, because if they needed to go to the bathroom, they wouldn't have the opportunity to do so. So there's
Mhm.
like a lot of like historical context to this as well.
Mm. No, I totally agree with you, and it kind of reminds me of the fact that the place with the most bathrooms in the U.S. is actually the Pentagon, because it was built during the time of Jim Crow and segregation.
Mhm.
So when they finally desegregated, they basically, there's a bathroom every 5 feet in that place.
Yeah.
But it's kind of I just get really tired of kind of this argument against people using whichever bathroom they choose, because ultimately, like, who cares? And I just got so mad at my dad that I think that plumber example was the only thing I could think of, because it was like, I feel like I've run through every other argument with him. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a couple more for you real quick. What about
oh,
a
sure.
woman who has a little boy with her? Like she's got a 4-year-old boy with her. If either of them
Mm.
needs to use the restroom, which restroom do they go into? Does she send her 4-year-old son into the men's room by himself? What about a dad with a little girl? Like, does he bring that little girl into the men's restroom with himself? Does he send that little girl alone into the women's room? What about an adult who's disabled? Like there was a situation in Topeka, Kansas, where a mother was with her disabled son, and he needs a little bit of support, and they went into the women's restroom to let him use the
Mm.
bathroom, and got the cops called on them. So like, I know that this is the quintessential problem here is, like Josie was saying, trans people can no longer go out in public. You cannot be at school for 8 hours if you can't pee. You cannot go work a 10-hour shift if you cannot pee. That is the point of this. But because trans people are such a small minority, and like comparatively disabled people and children are larger minorities, this is going to have far-reaching effects well beyond the trans community. And it just is, it's untenable and inhumane, in my opinion. And so hopefully maybe a couple of those examples can penetrate of like, at the very minimum, we need to have some flexibility on this subject. And we can't be dogmatic in any situation. Because first of all, it's not even possible. And second of all, it's impractical and like harmful to people.
Yeah. And you can always have your dad call in. We're
That's
always
true.
happy to take the calls. Yeah.
Oh, that would be a spicy one indeed. I would love
Yeah.
that.
A spicy meatball.
Yes. Yes, happy to have those conversations. And honestly, like, when we have, oppositional calls, we do try our best to like try to keep on topic, and as long as the call is respectful, we'll have a really good conversation. We've had, calls that started oppositional, and then after a few of the conversation kind of goes places, then the call kind of lands in a place where we can kind of achieve a middle ground in some cases. And so yeah, it's an opportunity, and we're not too scary. I don't know, Arden can be kind of scary, but I'm just
He's
kidding.
trying.
Just
Her
kidding.
and Matt both are
Shit,
like, we're trying to be more calm.
but But yes. Well, thank you for calling, Caleb. Do you have anything else before we let you go?
Oh, sorry, my
Oh,
1-year-old is just being a little diva right now. But
yeah.
I
Go
just wanted
take
to
care of
say,
that baby.
just for your information, before I came on the line, he actually pointed at Josie and said "pretty." So I just thought that would be a nice way to end this this call. So thank you for
That's
taking
sweet.
my
So
call, and I hope you
sweet.
guys have a nice rest of your day.
You too,
Yeah,
Caleb.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I appreciate it, Caleb. All right. Bye-bye. Aw. Little
That's nice.
kids. They're so cute. Super
Yeah.
nice. Great. So we'll just go ahead and just keep on going through them. We've had some really short and sweet calls today, which has been kind of nice.
Yeah.
Giving that those video fodder, which is good.
Mhm.
So the next caller has called in before. It's Fishy. She heard from Malaysia, talking about the trans panic and activism. So yeah, Fishy, how are you? It's been a long time since I've had a chance to talk to you.
Hello, Josie. Yes, it's been 2 months, I guess. 2 months plus.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, what do you want to chat with us about today?
Uh, Today I'm here to preface this. I went to the summit last month, and there was a talk here and there when discussing about the law, and part of the trans people in there, I guess they are more on not knowing better. They keep arguing
Mhm.
about how there's non-binary people and also transgender people, you know,
Mhm.
prevalent in social media, and they keep
Mhm.
arguing that when we argue for law, we should not take gender as the topic to argue about in a way. So I want to
I
know if
see.
it is a thing is in activism when you are trying to argue for the law.
Yeah. So are you talking about trenders and people using the argument that there are trans people who aren't like representative of the trans community, so they shouldn't be able to make laws? I'm sorry if I'm talking too quickly. Is that what you're trying to say?
Kind of. It's more on like they keep on raising about how when it comes to arguing about law, we should never bring out the gender label, I guess. But in a way,
Um,
I feel that the community is just having the moral panic inherently built by social media. So I'm not sure
yeah.
whether I should counter it every time I face that kind of thought.
Yeah.
I guess
So
I'm
I will say
curious,
this.
like,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
just want to ask like a clarifying question. Are people saying we shouldn't talk about gender at all, including like rights for women? Or are they just saying like we shouldn't talk about non-binary and trans people?
Yeah, they are arguing about not arguing from the point of gender and non-binary people.
So
Yeah.
so are they saying that transsexual is still is that okay? Or is it the word gender they don't like?
Mm, I can only hear a few talking about transsexual, but most of them are like they accept the transgender man and woman label, but they don't accept arguing from the point of gender, and they trying to exclude non-binary people in the top. They are trying to
Got it.
blame non-binary people too.
Mhm. I completely understand. And you said you were at a conference. Was it a trans conference?
Yep. Uh,
Okay,
all
okay.
the attendees are trans people.
Okay,
Oh,
so the argument at the conference is that we should only be fighting for trans men and trans women.
Yep.
And was that most of the people's opinion, or was it like some people?
I mean, I think it's the few loud ones and some of the elderly trans people is
Mhm,
arguing from the
mhm.
point of view also.
Got it.
yeah.
Um, no, I understand now. Thank you so much for helping me clarify. So we're all in different points in the battle of activism in the world, right? I would assume that Malaysia may be a little bit, maybe a few 10, 20 years behind, because in America it used to be the same way. In America, it used to be very, very similar, where it was like trans women, trans men, and then trans non-binary people were just never a part of the conversation, and it was very bad because that's about a third of our entire community. And what we kind of had a call earlier about how there are people who point at non-binary people and say they're the problems. I'm the good person trying to be a part of society, they're the ones trying to change society, so therefore support us and forget them. And
Yeah.
so it is a very short-sighted thing to do, because at the end of the day, we are stronger if we bring the whole community together. Because if we go ahead and take out half of our community siblings out of the fight, then it's going to be harder for trans binary people, which is trans men, trans women, to be able to fight for their own liberation when we're leaving an entire community of our siblings behind. And a lot of times in these conversations, because I've had many conversations with our trans elders as well, and some trans elders that I know in America still feel this way too. And it's a very hard conversation to be able to have, to kind of say we have moved beyond where we were before, and we need to fight for something better now. It's harder when you're like a newer movement, and it's like, okay, we need to come up with some very quick, easy things to understand. Okay, trans man, trans woman, that's what we're going to fight for first, and then we'll fight for everybody else later. And that's kind of how a lot of those movements evolve, and it's not good, and I hate that that happens a lot of times. But it is something that we need to work together as a community to be able to carry all of us, because we get more people helping us fight for liberation, helping us fight for human rights and dignity, having the ability to kind of help explain. So when a trans woman like myself would be like, oh, non-binary people are great. I love non-binary people. They're valid. They're part of the trans movement, and they just don't identify as a man or a woman, and they are just non-binary. And I make a good argument to people who are like, no, Josie, we like you as a trans woman. I just don't understand non-binary people. And then it's on me to then say, actually, though, like non-binary people are valid and are part of this movement and deserve human rights too, is much better for the community as a whole than me saying, oh yeah, support my rights, and in 20 years we'll get the non-binary people later. That doesn't that
Yeah.
doesn't that doesn't serve us. That doesn't serve us as a community at large. Lux, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. I would add that I it's all good to fight for trans binary people. Like, obviously, it's good to fight for trans men and trans women. I think that maybe sometimes when people are older and when they are far in their transition, they maybe forget what it was like when they were first figuring things out. And I think if we normalize non binary people and we normalize, folks who look a little bit masculine or a little bit feminine or like androgynous, I think if we have a space in society for non-binary people and that is acceptable for them to be gender non-conforming, that does also help trans men and trans women. Because if there is no cultural acceptance for people who are in the early stages of transition, I'm not really sure what they expect to happen if looking gender nonconforming or looking like a non-binary person is going to cause people to dislike you or is going to cause issues with the government in some cases. Like, if we say it's a good thing for people to be non-binary and be gender nonconforming, then that means there is more space for binary trans people who are early in their process to be out and about and not have to worry about getting persecuted for being gender nonconforming. Like, I think the only other option, if you have a society that is really against, people who look ambiguous, then what? Do people just go in their house for 2 years? And then after 2 years, when they have had their full glow up transition, then they can re-enter society? That doesn't seem realistic to me. So I feel like fighting for non-binary people helps everybody and lets people explore, and honestly creates less pressure for trans people, because if there is an expectation that you have to be gender conforming, oh, you have to pass just as much as Josie does in order for you to be acceptable. Like, that just feels really unfair to everybody involved.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I am one of those people in the conference where the young ones, especially, they got voiced out about how we should just accept gender and non-binary people in the talk, but in the end, we did decide to just go on and appease the crowd by dealing with the main problem of sticking to the binary first, I guess, from if we are going to fight for the law. Yeah.
That's unfortunate. And I will say that movements evolve, and things grow, and it is something that we all learn as activists and we all learn as communities that try to do civil justice and civil rights across the entirety of the globe, that we will have to come back and try to fix things. And one of the things that is the saddest thing of all is when the trans binary folks don't win, and then they now lost rights for themselves and the people that they said they didn't have rights as well, and it leaves people more fractured, and it actually takes years to repair. It happened in the United States during the marriage equality situation, where gay people were allowed to marry in the United States, where they tried to pass marriage equality, or they tried to pass an equal rights amendment in our government, and they removed trans people from the Equal Rights Amendment to only serve the gay and lesbian communities. And because of that, and they lost anyway, so they didn't win with that new Equal Rights Amendment without trans people. It caused a lot of mistrust within the movement, and it made people feel very angry at people who were saying, get trans people out of here, because then they lost, and then they lost allies that were going to help them fight better. And it set us back a decade, an actual whole decade. And so it is, in fact, we still haven't gotten an Equal Rights Amendment, actually. So it actually set us back 2 decades, maybe 3, maybe 4.
Yay.
So that's where we are at this point. And it's not, it's awful. And the best you can do is to fight for rights and work in coalition and work in groups and try to be there while things change. But I am truly sorry that they decided to marginalize other trans people for the sake of other trans people. It's never worked in history before, and so, because we still all need human rights. So that's disappointing, but thank you for fighting on the right side of history.
Yes. Thank you
Yeah,
for
yeah,
your advice too.
yeah,
And I will keep on
and I just
fighting.
want to Yeah, and I just want to say you've come a long way. The last time we chatted, you were talking about trying to, be an advocate and fight for trans rights, and here you are going to conferences. That's so great. I'm very happy to see that you've really found the community to start doing activism in a country in Malaysia, which is just incredible. And I just want to applaud you for doing the work, because now that you know the issues, you're going to be able to organize better for the next conference that happens, and you'll be able to communicate with other trans people and say, hey, last time we had a controversy because we weren't allowing non-binary people. You can help non-binary people actually have a space and actually give panels and conversations about, hey, this is what it means to be non-binary. It's nothing different than being trans. Like, that's that is a very powerful thing. So keep it up, and keep fighting for the whole community. And over time, the conference will start to evolve and grow, and this is just a momentary setback. There will be another conference again. You're going to be able to communicate with other activists, and they're going to learn that they didn't win very much without non-binary people either. So don't give up. Keep on fighting. It's a fight that's going to last decades.
Mm.
Okay?
So my main problem is I sometimes I'm very argumentative, I guess, and I really want to know if I should counter it during when they are discussing about it, or I will just sweep it aside for now and just talk to some people that I trust more when the issue arises after the whole session talk, maybe. How should I proceed with
Yeah.
this?
No, you're already reaching something that I understand very deeply about activism, and you're learning a lot, I can tell. And a lot of times what it takes is you got to be patient, and you got to speak your truth first off. It's important to speak your truth so people know where you stand, but it's also important to keep working with the people who are doing the movement work and get into leadership positions in the group. So when you start moving up the ranks and start getting into leadership positions, you'll have the ability to use your power to be able to say, no, we need to have a non-binary panel. We need to actually have conversations about non-binary people and do it from a place of leadership. And the way that you're going to do that is continuing to show up and do the work. And it's okay to speak your truth. It is absolutely okay to speak your truth. But it's also good to also make friends with the leadership so you can then be in leadership as well. So you can start moving the full conference in the way that you rather see it go. Because if you stay in the room, you will be in leadership. It's usually the way it works. The longer you continue the fight, people will know you, and people will say, "Yeah, we need to hear your voice more." So it's a patience thing, and it's really really hard. I don't know, Lux. Do you have any comments on the activism growth?
I mean, it's a struggle figuring out how much you should push for one thing when we have so many things that we need to push for. I think it's, I try not to be super argumentative with people in person, because maybe that's just, I grew up and was trained to be less argumentative, and so I'm uncomfortable with that. But I will say, I don't think it's a bad thing to continue applying pressure to the organization to say, look, we need more people on our side. And that means letting non-binary people come. It means letting us expand what we fight for, because like Josie has been saying, fighting for only this particular kind of person, this very, oh, they look perfectly like the gender they've transitioned to, and they just want to get married like everybody else. It's good for those people to have rights. It's not good for those people to have rights at the expense of some other group. and just saying like, oh, whatever, we'll get to you later. But we did this in my country with the prioritization of gay marriage, and we did get gay marriage, but then we stopped pushing for all the other groups that are in the queer community. And what has happened now is gay marriage is at risk. Like, we are concerned in this country that the Supreme Court, because this was based on a Supreme Court decision and not a law that was made the normal way, it could disappear based on just another court decision. So if we stop pushing once the most acceptable version of person is accepted, well, that is no guarantee that the rights will not be taken away later. So I would say keep applying pressure. Try not to be too argumentative with people who, you know, you share a very intimate space with. Like, there aren't very many trans people in general, and I imagine it's tough in Malaysia for you all to convene and gather without that creating problems for, you know, persecution reasons and everything. Like, people don't seem to like gay marriage and trans people in many parts of the world, and Malaysia included in that. So yeah, I would say try not to push hard enough that you alienate people. You still need them to want to listen to you, but I don't think you should stop applying that pressure.
Right. Be consistent. That's all. That's all that matters. Is just be consistent and always say, hey, this is what I stand for, because I stand for the rights of all trans people. And that's the most important part, is like, all you're doing is saying we should stand for all trans people. And that is not a very controversial thing in the trans community to say. So as long as you keep saying that, people will start saying, well, maybe Fishy's right, you know, and you'll start gaining allies and other people who agree with you, and then over time you start to shift the mindset of the entirety of the group. And you know, that's just how it works. And so you're doing the right thing, so keep it up, keep being in the room, don't leave the room. The room is very important to be in. And keep being an activist and keep standing for all trans people, and I think from there you'll be able to see the evolution of your movement, and then you're going to be able to tell us what we should be doing, because that's what happens, right? After you start gaining expertise and experience, you could say, I've done this over here and this over here, and then we can learn from each other. And that's really what's important, is that we all are able to learn together as activists on what works in different rooms, so we can be better together globally. So I really appreciate you having this call and conversation with us today.
All right.
Okay. All right. All right.
Good enough. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
Have a
Thank you so
wonderful
much,
day.
and you have a great day. You too. All right. Bye-bye. Gosh, I love talking to her. I learn so much every time she speaks. It's like I'm like, it's so rare to be able to communicate with other trans people in other countries that are activists, to be able to speak.
Mhm.
I was at a conference during Pride, and there was a Southeast Asian coalition. It was like actually a Thai delegation of trans people that came in, and actually started talking about how they've fought for their own liberation in their own ways as well. And I mean, that's really what it's about. It's about us growing as a global community and being able to learn from each other in ways that actually work. So it's
Yeah.
such a treat. It's such a treat for all of us here to be able
It
to
is.
communicate with someone.
And getting the different
Yeah.
context and perspectives as well. Like, the only thing I know about Malaysia is I follow a YouTuber who is a lesbian, and she's married to someone whose family lives in Malaysia, and they can't talk about being married when they're there. Like, they're lesbians, they can't talk about their marriage. They have to pretend like they're just friends or whatever. So to be trans in that context is so scary to me. But it's scary everywhere. Like, I don't know that there's a single acre of land on this planet where it's safe to be trans right now. So we are all very much in it
Yeah.
together on this one.
I know. Wait, wait, there's no country? This isn't a country? I thought this is where all the hot people came from.
I know. I keep
No?
seeing this flag. I want to know where all the hot people
know.
are from.
Where is this nation? Where is this nation? I want to go.
It's true. Yep.
Anyways,
Do we want to close the lines? We have 4 callers
I
on
think
deck.
we
Do we want to go
I
ahead
think we
and
want to
okay, cool.
close the lines. Yeah, I think we want to close the lines. Thank you so much. And as we are closing the lines, I just wanted to mention that if you have super chats, if you been seeing some amazing humans being putting in super chats this whole time, just remember to put in your super chats of $5 or more, and we will read them out loud. And if you put hashtag Team Josie or hashtag Team Lux into the chat, we have a friendly little competition where the loser of that competition will have to defend an absurd argument. So it is something that we do. And yeah, Team Josie always shows up. So
It's true.
even
Can I
though,
go ahead and talk about next week's schedule while we have a break in the calls? Yes. Yeah. What were you going to say though? Even though what?
Even though you have given me Team Lux gives me a run for my money all the time. So I'm just saying, you can't sleep on Team Lux.
You can't sleep
Team
on it.
Josie,
It's
you hear
true.
that?
You got to show up for Team Josie today if you want to. You got to blow me out of the water and make me do the silly punishment. But while we're taking a small break between calls, I want to let you know about all the other wonderful shows we have coming up this following week. We do not have anything Friday and Saturday. No, Cus I Wanna this week or anything. On Sunday, we are going to have let's see, Matt's show with Eric, and then later in the day, we're going to have Forrest and John on the evening show on Sunday. On Skeptalk Mondays, you'll have John Gleason and Chad Hastings, who I think might be a guest. Chewed Gum this upcoming week, we're going to have Alyssa and Taylor, our new contributor, is going to be on there again. We are making her work this month. She is on every single Chewed Gum. So if you're liking Taylor, get more of her this week. Right now, I'm just seeing Matt Dillahunty for the hang up. I'm not seeing a guest. We'll see if he has a guest. And then on TACIS next week, you'll see me and Arden. And, every single one of us is a dream team. I want to be like the dream team, but every coupling that we have on here is the dream team. They all work perfectly.
It really is. It does. It's just the magic of TACIS. It really is.
Mhm.
So yes, and I just want to go ahead and say this because I'm making sure that I know Epsilon does suck, and I see you, Jessica, and so that point is mine in the future. Lux, you were sleeping on that chat, so I was able to say it, even though Epsilon does
My
serve.
favorite is Evie.
But
a vote for Evie is a vote for me. So if you're voting for any other evolution, I don't even want to talk to you.
Well, I mean, anything in the core 150 is always going to be better than anything post. So,
It's
I
true.
mean, it's just how it is. All right. It's
I
just how
know.
millennials have to see it. Okay.
Sorry. I don't want to talk about jangling keys Pokemon.
No, I don't. I don't want
Nope.
it. It's wrong,
Nope.
and they shouldn't even be metal. The metal is already wrong. All right.
Yep. How dare.
Great. So we'll just go down the list here, and we'll bring in William, him from North Carolina, coming in with an open mind, and wants to talk about trans people. So yes, let us know what you're talking about. How are you today?
Yeah, great. Thank you. It's great to be here. I really appreciate you taking my call. I really want to approach this with an open mind and respect, so I hope that I come off that way. But I come from a really conservative background. Like, my family is almost all Republican. My dad has always had this, transgenderism is kind of just, he equates it to like mental illness or other psychological issues. And I believed that for a long time because I myself didn't really understand what being transgender was like, or even what it really was for that matter. And so I'm really just here to ask you guys, what does it feel like to be transgender in society today? And do you feel that it's more of a personal burden, or is it more like a liberating thing, or neither?
I love that question. Do you want to go, Josie, or I could pick it up?
Well, I if you want, I can go ahead and start. So Yeah, so this is really interesting because like a lot of folks when they talk about feeling, it's not really a feeling, it's kind of just a state of being, kind of like, I'll ask you, William, do you see yourself as gay or straight?
Hmm. Yeah, I would
Do
say straight.
you? I'm just asking. Okay, how does it feel to be straight?
Okay. I think I kind of see what you're saying. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
more like a. Are
yeah,
you saying that
right.
it's more just like it's like a state of being rather than just like, oh, I happen to feel this way?
Yeah, right. Like so it's kind of like that. And I know that a lot of people use language of like, oh, they feel like they're a woman, so therefore we have to treat them as a woman. It's much more deeper than that. It's much more intrinsic. Just like I don't want to assume, but you also identify as a man, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So when we start investigating gender, and if I started to investigate your manhood and just be like, "Hey, William, like prove to me that you're a man," and I can get into that conversation with you, it's still kind of a weird conversation to have. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would struggle to answer that or have a conversation about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So it's the same thing about being trans in a lot of ways. It's kind of like it's a complex thing to kind of like describe a state of being without it being like, oh, you're just identifying, you're just pointing to the thing and saying, hey, I'm trans. Just like most cis people who are saying I'm a man or woman kind of say, hey, I'm a woman or I'm a man. It's like we kind of just let cis people get away with that without having this deep investigation on why they are a man or a woman. But when a trans person does that, it tends to be this deep investigation of like what is the thing that is trans, when it's just like we're just trans, right? I'm just a trans woman. That's just kind of how it goes. And so for me, that's kind of how I understand my own transness, is like the idea that I am a trans person and that's just who I am. And for me, if it was a choice, why would I go against society that has tried to marginalize me in so many different ways, including people leaving the military and all of the things that are happening around that? It's like it's a very, very personal and deep thing that a person is. And that's kind of the way I kind of put words to it. Does that make sense? And then if you want to respond to that, then I'll let Lux go. But go ahead, William.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, that is really helpful to me because honestly, the only kind of conversation that I have ever had about this topic was with my dad, and his views are extremely critical. Which again, like I used to share because that was like the only perspective that I was kind of exposed to. And
So
I
did
think
I, by the way. When I was
yeah,
younger, it was the same for me too.
yeah, and
Go
I'm sure,
on.
and I'm sorry because that's yeah, it's a really frustrating thing. I mean, even if you're not, because obviously I'm not trans, but it was frustrating even for me to deal with at a certain point because I'm like, okay, well, you're just kind of saying all of these things, but it's like it seems to be more uh, hateful or out of confusion or spite than it is like you, you know, saying that something is or being correct that something is wrong here, that there's an issue when it doesn't really seem like there is. Um, but yeah, I would say that so that is really helpful to me because I was always exposed to being like, okay, it's this burden or it's this thing that people who are trans like have to deal with. It's like this problem that they have to solve. Is kind of how it's always been posed to me, at least in my family. So,
I mean, it kind of is
um,
like just to give my perspective on it, like the question of like is being trans or having a trans identity, like is it liberating or is it a burden? Like it's both. And like that is I
mm,
think one of the fascinating things about the human experience in general, but in particular the trans experience, that like you go through a self-actualization process that many people don't, and you have to explore and like put a lot of effort into understanding those feelings. So initially there is a burden of I need to figure out what this problem is, or like for some people it is just simply a matter of like pursuing something that makes them feel good. I think that's a pretty small minority, So it's typically it's going to start with like, oh, I feel weird. What is that? Like, where is it coming from? And so you go through the process of exploring it, and then you have the burden of explaining that to people, and then you have the burden of trying to seek the medical care, and sometimes having that like just out of reach for reasons beyond your control, because cisgender people who do not have any idea what your experience is like have determined that you need to talk to a psychologist for 2 years before you can get access to medicine. So like it is a burden in a lot of ways. And for me right now in America, like I would not think about my transness nearly so much as I do if I was not being confronted directly with the fact that people hate me for something I have no control over. So obviously in that sense, like, yeah, it's a burden. I moved 2,000 miles across the country. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars to do that. And obviously that's a burden. Simultaneously, it is extremely liberating because now that I know that I'm non-binary, I no longer feel like I need to perform a specific gender. Like I'm like, oh, okay, people are going to perceive me this way, and I simply do not care because I am self-actualized, and like I do not have. I mean, unless some surprise happens, which it seems like every other day I'm having some new thing that I thought would never change about me that suddenly is now changed. I'm now a tea person and not a coffee person. I'm like considering reconnecting with my parents, who both of whom I don't really talk to because they were both terrible. Like never expected to have that change. But for the most part, I feel like my gender is figured out. And therefore, now it's a playground. Now it's something I can try different things, and like I can find community and find so much joy in everything I have in common with other trans people. And it is a huge part of my identity and who I am. But yeah, if we lived in a better world, I would not be burdened by it. And like I would be able to just say, yo, my disability is the worst thing that I have to deal with in my day-to-day life. And wouldn't that be a relief to not have to talk about my transness and not have to constantly defend us from spurious accusations and attacks? But I don't want that to ever overshadow like the feeling of rightness that you have within yourself when you're like, yeah, I know who I am, and it's no longer controversial to me. And the community that you can find through that. Like I always want to make sure when I'm communicating with other people and for my own well-being to remind myself, like, there is something beautiful at the core of all of this nonsense, like all of this external stuff. Like being trans itself is a beautiful, liberating thing that I should be able to celebrate. So it's a complicated relationship that I have with my transness, and it's mostly only complicated because of how other people act about it.
Yeah. No, I love that. I especially, I thought it was interesting, like when you said that a lot of the frustration, I mean, obviously comes from like the societal reaction. And this is actually something that me and my dad would argue about a lot because, you know, he would always kind of pull up these, like cherry pick these clips off the internet of like people who are trans who are like losing their minds on social media or like overreacting to things. And like my argument has always been like, well, it's not that they're trans, that they're acting this way. It's like you are driving them to insanity. It's like, this isn't even a trans thing. Like anyone who is being put through that much, I mean, bullying, just to be blunt, is like would react the same way, no matter if they're straight, gay, whatever. And I was just curious as to like if you kind of saw that the same way. Is it like when you see arguments like that are like, oh, these trans people are losing their minds, like, is that kind of where your head goes? Is like, well, they're just kind of like being bullied into this state.
I mean, have you ever pet a cat the wrong direction? Like this is, I know it sounds silly. Yeah. So imagine what it's like to just be being pet in the wrong direction all fucking day. Like at some point you're going to swipe at whoever's doing it. And like, it's not like painful necessarily, but it's uncomfortable and really annoying. So like, yeah, if you put a person under enough pressure, it doesn't matter what that pressure is. You know, even if you're like, okay, you're a man, your name is William. Oh my God, thank you. You're the perfect fucking example for this. If you are at work and someone keeps calling you Billy and they will not stop, and you're like, excuse me, my name is William. If you really need to shorten it, you may call me Will, but I swear to God, you keep calling me Billy, we're going to HR. Like it will become an HR hostile work environment level problem. So yeah, like in any situation, if you're doing something someone doesn't like, they're going to get annoyed, and eventually that pressure builds and builds and builds. And because the thing is too that trans people are subject to respectability expectations, like that you have to be exactly perfect. If you are going to correct someone on your pronouns, you have to be exactly perfect. So all of these like rules around how we are allowed to behave, they lead to these situations where someone just absolutely loses it. Like the expectation that people can be doing something harmful and annoying to you all day long, and that you have to be extra special nice to them the entire time.
Mm.
And then they're going to even do it deliberately. Like everybody thinks of it's ma'am, that lady in the GameStop. The guy is actively
Right.
misgendering her in that. He is deliberately needling her and on purpose upsetting her. So like, yeah, are we supposed to just be completely non-emotional robots who are never bothered by anything, and people can be overtly aggressive toward us, and we're just supposed to like be cool with that and never lose our composure? That is an insane standard that nobody else except Black people is ever going to be held to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to also say this about the fact that it's easy to cherry pick anybody. We live on an online environment now where people can literally pick anything. So like if you were to say to your dad, like, do you know that all these lefties are going around talking about how the right wing is losing their mind about this one thing? And then you just see all these, and it's not an honest portrayal of the fact that people are just trying to live their lives. And I use the veterans or the active duty service members who are trans as an example. I have many friends who are active duty are now getting admin separated from the military right now. In fact, one of our co-hosts on this show is one of those people. And the fact is, if you were, and maybe you could put him in the scenario, if you were serving in the military for 17 years, right, before you're able to retire in the military, and they were like, sorry, like we're gonna have to let everybody out that's left-handed, because we just can't have left-handed people in here anymore, because we have to make different equipment and different tools for left-handed people, so we're just gonna go ahead and just eliminate all left-handed people from the military across the board. It doesn't matter how heroic you've been. It doesn't matter how well of a worker you've been. It doesn't
being weird,
matter.
sorry.
I know. I see you, Alex. And like, if you were to like put yourself in that type of scenario, I would be effing pissed off too, right? Like if I, so it's kind of like the same thing is happening to trans people right now, where they're literally just getting removed from military service just because they're trans, regardless of their honorable service, regardless of how well of a soldier, airman, or sailor they are. And so it becomes the situation of like, wouldn't you be pissed too? Like if somebody just fired you because they just said, oh yeah, sorry, you're left-handed. We don't hire left-handed people anymore. So sorry. I know you put in 20 good years of work here, but you're out. And
Right.
that is something as well that is super frustrating, and people need to empathize with that.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's also something, that specific example of like, the whole military thing that's going on with, I mean, me and my dad have been in the ringer with that conversation, and that's just, I kind of just tend to like not talking about it anymore, because it's like, I've tried to, I mean, the thing is like, it's not necessarily, because I don't, again, like I said in the beginning, like I don't know what it's like being transgender, and that's why I'm here. So it's not that I'm like trying to fight for something that I don't understand. Like I'm just trying to like let him know that what he's saying is not just transgender. It's just being like outwardly bigoted towards someone that you don't like.
Yeah, it's a really hard one.
Mm-hmm.
You said you had a second question about pronouns in your discussion. Do you want to get to that question? We still have a little bit of time.
I don't think that one. Yeah, I don't think this one will be that long. And this kind of actually ties into what you were saying about like if someone keeps, like intentionally like calling you by the wrong pronouns. But I was kind of wondering, like, from your perspective, if someone were to like identify you as like he or she, just because they perceived you as like more
biologically masculine looking or biologically feminine looking.
Sure.
Is that something, like, I'm genuinely curious, is that something that if they're like, you know, not trying to purposely get it wrong, is that something that like you would take offense to, or is that something that is like that you're kind of like more understanding of, if that makes sense?
I will speak for myself. I am pretty understanding by it. I would say probably early in my transition, it was a little bit more icky. I was like, "Oh, I'm trying so hard," right? It was like I'm just trying so hard, and then people would just be like, saying my, he, him, and me. But as I've grown and matured as the person that I am today, I'm much more understanding because and I do it sometimes to people that I'm just like walking around and I'm like, oh, I was like, oh, your pronouns are they them, my deep apologies, right? And then we'll just move on and just like, and then it's corrected. I think most trans people, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but most trans people, in my opinion, are pretty understanding that as they're walking through society, people may get it wrong here or there. I think what has been overblown is that people just like, it's ma'am, and they just go berserk, right? And it's just like, and now everything is ruined, like the cake is on the floor, like like everybody, the party
Right.
is over, and it's like, it's not really like that. And what ends up happening is that I've had cis people in my life be more reactionary for somebody calling me the wrong pronoun than I am. I'm just like, okay, calm down, people. Like, it's fine. It was a mistake. We can move on, right? And so that's something that I think has been overblown in the media, that we are just like this very sensitive little snowflakey people that will just melt under the slightest mistake. And there are influencers online who rage bait and do that, and it's very frustrating for the trans community at large, that do that. But honestly, it's not that serious when it's a mistake. We know when it's a mistake, and we know when somebody's being a dick. Like it's a very different situation, right? Like if somebody were to call you Bill because they heard you call yourself William, and you'd be like, hey, whoa, I don't go by Bill, call me Will at the very least. You'd be, and the person's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I knew a William once and they only went by Bill, so that was my bad, I should have asked first. And you'd be like, cool, whatever, right? And then and you just move on with your life. That's been my experience personally, and I know a lot of people feel that way. But Lux, I would love to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I come at this from a disappointing life experience of you don't get people reflexively gendering you correctly if you're non-binary, unless you are like I think at one time when I was working in a gas station, someone was fumbling over what to call me and they landed on captain, and I was like, bet, that's fucking lit. I love that.
That's
so
awesome.
for me, yeah, like, so for me, I've just had to like accept that it literally doesn't matter what I do as far as my physical transition. I am never going to be in a space like, I mean, I don't know. I just moved to Portland. So maybe if I go out more, I'll have that experience of being more reflexively gendered in a neutral way. But it's just not going to happen for me in broader society. So that, like, I have to radically accept that that is the case. Like, I live in a society where there isn't really a pre-existing target gender role for me to transition into and be seen as. There is more so now than there was when I first started transitioning like 15 years ago. But yeah, so, a certain amount of grace and understanding. Of course, people who are early on in their transition are more sensitive about it. I wouldn't say that offense is exactly the right word, but it can be hurtful and frustrating. Like Josie was saying, if you're like, I literally am trying as hard as I can, I can't speed up the hormone process. Like, I don't have thousands of dollars on this for this surgery or whatever. Like, I haven't even had health insurance most of this entire time. So there's like it's a sensitive button that sometimes is very easy to press, and it depends on the day, and it depends on where you're at in your transition and what else is going on in your life. And I hope for all trans people out there that you can get to the level that I have gotten to, which is like literally do not care about people who don't know me gendering me. Don't care. Not if my husband started calling me she, her, I'd be like, bro, are you fucking serious right now? But that's not going to happen. So I just am not that concerned. And even with family, for the most part, I'm like, I don't really care to explain myself. Like the labor of explaining myself over and over again, I'm tired of it. I've turned it into my job, so I get paid to do it here, and I don't have to do it elsewhere in my life, and I'm not going to. So yeah, I would say maybe offense is not the right word, but that it's understandably, it's touching on a very sensitive subject for a lot of people, particularly when they're already emotionally vulnerable. Because if you're under attack at the legislative level, then those attacks, or I guess those interactions, I should say, are going to maybe feel like personal attacks, even if they aren't. And we all need to have therapists.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you for saying. I guess for me, that question was more so not passing judgment on transgender people, but more so that I just don't want to offend people, because I don't know about you, but I'm terrible with names, and pronouns kind of fall into that same kind of camp for me. So it's I've slipped up before, and I've called someone by pronouns that they don't prefer, and obviously I try to correct that and be better about that. But it's I'm glad to hear that it's something that is at least I guess kind of widely known, that it's a bit more like a consideration thing.
Yeah, we know when people are trying. It's how patient I had to be with my mother. It took her years before she finally was able to do it. And consistently at the point where she's at now. But that's just kind of how it goes. And some people are more patient than others, and that's just human nature. But most people that I know in my life are patient with people that are trying. And I think that it's overblown that the trans community is this very fragile group of people that are just willing to rip your head off at any moment. That's just not the case. And it's just not the case. It's really not. Yeah, I've run across some people like that, but usually that's in trans spaces where everybody's trans, and what the fuck? Why are you doing that? I was oh yeah, this is supposed to be a safe space. Sorry, I would never, would never at this point. But but that's that's the point where people get think a little bit more annoyed when we're in trans spaces, and we're all trans, and we're all just getting by, and we're in a space, and then somebody just throws a wrong pronoun at somebody, even though it's on our name tags, and it's what the fuck? What? How can you not read? What?
Yeah.
But that, again, that's not in society. That's a very niche thing I'm talking about. Yeah. So yeah. Well, thank you, William. I really appreciate this conversation. Yeah.
Thank you. Could I just click? Okay. Well, we'll see about that. But could I just say one closing thing?
Sure, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I have a huge amount of respect for you guys for, just dealing with something that is honestly just so trivial on such a frequent basis. And I'm really glad that I got to call in and have this conversation. And I just want to thank you guys, because again, I don't get to have this kind of perspective sharing very often. So thank you both for that.
Totally.
Happy to create that space. And if you have any other questions that come up, we're happy to answer questions about diving deeper, because that's why we do this show. We do this show because this is a space where we're able to answer questions that people may still have. And that's why this show is doing so well on the line and things, is that people ask questions that people think they already, oh my God, they've asked this question 10 times, but it's okay, because there's always a new audience member that hasn't seen it before, or a new viewer that's never heard that question before. So if you have anything else you're mulling over, please call again. Have your dad call. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Definitely. We'll see about that last one, but definitely thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, William. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
All right.
Out of consideration for our producer, we're going to try to get through these last calls a little bit quick.
Yes, we are. So we'll just go ahead and move down the line to Olivia, she, her, from Canada. As a trans person, how can she navigate trans topics with theists and other people in productive, non-argumentative way? Explain. How are you? I've never seen Olivia spelled that way. I really like it. It's very unique. But go ahead. Oh, your phone might be asleep. Try waking it up. Olivia, are you there? Wake up your phone. If not, I will return you to queue and try to get you at the end. I'm going to return you to queue. Try to see if it's maybe your phone asleep. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go to Lily, they from Arizona, starting a new job at a local school. So tell us about it. What did you want to talk to us about?
Hi, Josie. Hi, Lux. Thanks so much for having me on. It's pretty much what it says, local public school. There's probably more details in there that could become relevant if you ask about them. But I'm trans myself. I was a trans teen during Trump 1, and now more than ever during Trump 2, I am it's got to be even rougher than it was. Like, I can't know what it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
per se, but I know it's got to be rough, and I want to give these kids a chance to know that they're a safe adult. Like, that's my job, basically, is like, the details are irrelevant. I am an adult at the school interacting with these kids, and I want to give them a safe person to talk to. I have a little bit of knowledge what some of that could look like. My mom actually works at a public school, and that's one thing she's really big about is like the first day of school, everyone's wearing their like school pride and like school logo merch, and she's wearing her like trans rainbow proud mom shirt. And the kids all like walk around and call her proud mom. That's just like her entire personality. And she's got,
I love it.
these kids who come up to her and tell her that like she is the one adult in their life, like out of neighbors, parents, grandparents, whatever, teachers, one adult they've ever known, that like they feel safe being their true self around. So I know what a picture of success looks like, but she's in California, rural, like Trumpy California, but like she's in California. The protections are different, and she's like an actual adult. I'm just like a stupid kid, right? I'm in my 20s, and I'm new to this school. She had been working there for a while when I came out, and she started to become more like active in trying to support people through this stuff. And I just think it's important that I do something at my job. There are a couple passive signals that I know I have access to. I have blue hair and one blue eyebrow. That's kind of unmistakable that something a little bit not cishet is probably going on. And
I love that we do
you can
that.
put stickers on a water bottle, just like a little pink, blue, white rainbow probably goes a lot for people who know to look. But I just want to sense check some of what I'm thinking, get some more brainstorming. I haven't met the principal yet at the school that I'm going to. I'm like super new. I meet the principal in like 2 weeks. So I don't have the vibe. Maybe I could call back with some of that, but hopefully you all know where to help me out from there.
I love this question a lot. I would say lanyard with a trans flag, rainbow flag. That's usually where I would start, like a keychain, things like that. Yeah, like, just a lanyard, like something you have on your keychain or something that you can have that is visible. That way you don't have to worry about like the school being like, why are you hanging a pride flag during not Pride Month, right? And like all that type of stuff, because there's also that policing that exists. But if it's on your person, it's much harder for them to police you on that. I will also say as well, currently, we are starting to see the attacks of the GSAs, which are the Gay Student Alliance programs that exist in schools. So one of the things I would be hyper vigilant for is making sure that those GSAs have, because a lot of times in schools, you have to have like a teacher that is like the proctor, or not the proctor, it's not the right word, but sponsor. There it is. You have to have a teacher sponsor. Yeah. So making sure that when those vehicles need to be filled, that you're ready to jump on those things, I think is also very important. I would contact PFLAG, which is a organization that's specifically about like parents and like students and young people. And you can also try to maybe figure out if they have any resources or things that they recommend. I'm sure they probably have things as well that you can think about as when you're moving through these spaces. But that's kind of my first the first blush type responses. I don't know, Lux, if you have any thoughts.
What's the age cohort that you're going to be working with?
It's going to be middle or high school. That's actually not been assigned. It's kind of an interesting position. I'm not actually a school employee. I'm like half school, half federal. It's through a university in town.
Okay.
And there's a subset of the math department that's doing relations between our math department and usually focused on like math teachers, but just public schools in general, trying to specifically support them. So that gets assigned in a couple days, but it's going to be middle or high school.
Okay, cool. So yeah, with older kids, I was going to say like you could incorporate personal pronouns into a lesson about pronouns with elementary age kids, but with older kids, I mean, for first day stuff that you could do, like, okay, I have a big long lanyard on my keys. So that like, if you have a big long trans lanyard that's like dangling out of your pocket or something, like that would be like, I would put something probably on my body that is discreet enough that somebody who is homophobic or transphobic but doesn't know what to look for might not notice it. But also you could just introduce your class and go like, don't solicit people to share their pronouns, but if you just really quickly breeze through it like, hey, I'm Miss Lily, I use she her pronouns, this is the class, let's start like an icebreaker activity or something. If you just slip it in there, that is one of the ways that we signal allyship. Like, I see your pronouns are listed she, they, but like for the sake of simplicity in your classroom, if you just default to she, her, like even just saying that is going to be a signal that like, oh, this person maybe knows something that like clues them in besides the blue hair. So if you have blue hair, if you have a trans flag pin or a trans flag like lanyard or something, and you do the really brief like, hi, she, her pronouns, da-da-da, moving on, don't treat it like a big deal. Don't solicit your students to share their pronouns because sometimes parents can be real weird about that. As a new teacher, you probably will want to, or sorry, as a new employee, you will probably not want to rock the boat too terribly. But yeah, those are kind of some low-key recommendations that I would make if you're just like, I just want to signal that I am a safe person for my students. That would probably be what I would go with. In Arizona is a little bit like, Arizona's not progressive, right? Like Arizona is still one of the sketchy ones.
Well, it depends where you are. Like I'm in Tucson, and it's pretty much great to be in Tucson. Mayor Romero, we have feelings about Mayor Romero. A lot of hat, not so much cattle sometimes, but Tucson as a whole, pretty great place to be. The people I'm working with, I have done some graduate coursework in the math department. That's all on pause right now. That's why I'm doing this, to see if maybe I want to continue grad school elsewhere than the U.S. But the people know that I'm trans. They've had one gender fluid person in my position, the school engagement specialist, used to be pandemic recovery specialist, but then Doge said, no money if you use the word pandemic.
Yay.
But they had a gender fluid person before, assigned somewhere where the school admin was not very friendly to this person. And so now in the future, they're like, we're going to be very careful about vetting what kind of admin we put you with for your own safety. So me coming in as a trans person, I at least know that I have that safety consideration in my specific environment.
Yeah, it sounds like you pretty much have your bases covered. Yeah, it sounds like you already have your bases covered. So, it's one of those things where just be authentically yourself. You have an opportunity to do that. You're not under the pressure of the state or the federal government yet to do things differently. Just be who you are, and the kids will get it. The kids will get it. You're a teacher or you're an educator. So yeah, you follow your gut on this one. I think that's going to be your best bet. Okay.
Yeah, that's actually
awesome. Well,
that makes a lot of sense. I'll definitely call back with how it's going. Thank you so much for all the advice. I will definitely be doing the lanyard thing. That sounds great.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Have a great day. Bye, Lily.
You too.
All right, let's go ahead and so the poll is up for what loser has to defend. So we have TACIS should include cis host. TACIS should feature Jimmy Mosley. Only leftists can get laid, and cats are better than dogs. So this is some spicy stuff here. So I'm excited to see what wins and see what Lux is going to have to defend. So
yeah. Someone hasn't been watching the super chats roll in.
No. It's just a wake up call for the Team Josie people, okay? Like you gotta
Yeah,
do this.
exactly.
All right. Anyway,
You got to get on it.
yeah, get on it. Anyway, so we will take Jasmine, she, her from Canada. And wants to know criteria of LGBTQ refugees be selected. So yeah, talk to us about it. Let us know what you think. Go ahead.
Well, under current criteria, if you apply under LGBTQ refugee, it's just persecution. And my question is how bad does things need to get before you can define yourself as persecuted, and even how you define, LGBTQ, because, this is somebody at the beginning of their transition, should they be considered the same as somebody at their end of their transition? Like, there's a lot of questions. And even if LGBTQ are better off trying to seek immigration under other immigration statuses, such as talent or whatever. I'm not an immigration expert Canadian immigration expert by any means, but those are my questions.
All right, Lux, you want to
Sure.
go for it?
Yeah, so I just pulled up the page on the Immigration and Refugee Board of Canada's website that Chapter 3, talking about persecution and defining it. Basically, it looks like, persecution it falls to the courts to identify the boundaries of that term in this. So there is no like legal definition of persecution. It's one of those like I know it when I see it kind of precedents. So what we're seeing right now is that the court has to make its determination, and that's why we were talking about this for our poll question today, is because I've seen this article and I posted it in the chat earlier from Juno News that is saying like a Canadian judge has stepped in to halt the deportation of a non-binary American who's presently in Canada on the basis that he believes, I think it's a male judge, on the basis that the judge believes that they may be subject to persecution. So I think, if we were to try to find like a comparison, we would probably need to look at like what situations are generally considered by the courts to be a type of persecution. And it looks like serious harm is one of the metrics that they use. So they have to be understood to be suffering a mistreatment or anticipating suffering a mistreatment that may be serious and may constitute a serious form of harm. So basically, I think, if we're looking at what's going on in America right now, like not being able to go out in public and not being able to use the restroom without fear of like being arrested, I would say is a form of harm. And being housed in prisons that are opposite to your gender is a form of harm. And the fact that trans people are disproportionately put in solitary confinement, allegedly for their safety, but we know that solitary confinement causes all kinds of issues and it constitutes a serious form of harm. That's just like a couple things that are happening to people in America right now that are, some of the more serious things that is subject to like, serious harm seems to be the legal standard that is used in Canada. So it's basically just going to be a bunch of different judges ruling on a bunch of individual cases until there is a body of judicial precedent to rely on. That's like, okay, for real though, like 5 different judges have all ascertained that there is a risk of serious harm to trans individuals in America, that, the more this happens at the federal level, like right now, there is not a ton of like federal direct attacks on trans people. Not in the same way, at least, as we have all these different places where there's state laws passing, but they're trying to take away trans people's access to medical care on the federal level. So we know that causes harm and suicidal ideation and depression, and we're even seeing an increase in suicide attempts in trans teenagers. So yeah, I think that we are definitely reaching a level where the physical harm that could be incurred is rising to a level where it's like, I don't even know that you can fully escape that persecution by moving to California. You know, there are still shitty people in California who could harm you. And the more that stuff becomes at the federal level, the more we erode those state protections and the fewer places there are to be safe in America, thus obviating the need for refugee status. But yeah, it's going to be up to the individual judges, it looks like.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily good. You would think we should try to establish, not only Canada, but should try to establish some sort of level which would qualify as persecution. Should, for example, your country is denying a lot of, especially trans youth, medical care. Should we be allowing families up here just because they're for their kids to get medical care, for example?
Well, we know that it constitutes serious harm for children to not access this care. Like, if we know that suicidal ideation and depressive behaviors are reduced when we introduce this care, then it constitutes a serious material harm for that access to care to be removed.
Yeah, and honestly, like, that's kind of how the law works. Like, it's up to judges to kind of like define these things. I mean, that's kind of the drawback of it. It's not you can create a bright line and say, okay, like these things are specific. Like, let's say, like, we already have those definitions for, like, if you are fleeing a country because your house was literally destroyed by, you know, gang violence and the government didn't protect you from that or whatever. Yeah, you can create those type of like things where it's like, yeah, these are the things that are criterion that will help the judge more easily define, okay, these cases are for this block, all they have to do, but they still have to prove it, right? Like, even if somebody says, okay, my house was blown up by terrorists in my country, like, you still have to prove that your house was blown up by terrorists in that country. You can't just say it. So there's always going to have to be this evidentiary conversation of like, what was the material harm that gives you refugee status. In the United States, it's the same way, and I assume that it's fairly the way Lux is describing it is for Canada as well. And it's really, we need to be able to figure out what that is. So I don't know. I think it's going to be very interesting couple years to see how these cases kind of shake up. But it does look like precedence has begun with the fact that a judge has already stopped the deportation of a non-binary person. So the argument is out there. Depending on what the persecution is going to be interpreted by the courts. And I don't. Those type of things usually aren't adjudicated in the court of law. The law, no, sorry, not the law. Sorry, in the court of public opinion, as far as like public policy. Public policy says, okay, we can accept refugees because of persecution, bop, 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 bop. But then it's the courts that then have to say, yes, this counts as the thing that is persecution for the way the public policy is written. So that's usually how this kind of stuff happens. So I think it's just an interesting conversational point. I don't know how far this is going to go. And I also am not an immigration attorney or an expert in this field, other than the fact that I understand that usually immigration and refugee cases are adjudicated in the court of laws of the state that is accepting or denying the refugee.
Well,
Does that,
most
yeah.
of them are getting bad in the United States for LGBTQ. But what about the arguments that there's still bastion states and there is still a possibility of regional autonomy? 3.5 years?
Yeah, and you're kind of breaking up, and I think I hear what you're saying. Again, that would also still be decided in the court of like, it's like, okay, like you can't establish refugee status here because in our law, if the land in Canada, for example, you can still go to this other state to do it. And then at that point, the refugee, the person trying to gain refugee status, would then be deported back to the United States, and hopefully Canada will be nice enough to deport them to that state they think is a refuge and not send them to Texas or Florida.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we have to like realize that's kind of how it goes in a lot of cases. So we don't know yet. We don't know. And I don't know what the federal courts. I mean, just recently, Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to pass an complete gender affirming care. Sorry, I can't even speak right now. A gender affirming care ban on youth nationally. So if that was the case and that were to pass, then there would be no sanctuary state that would allow that to happen because it would just be banned federally. So there is like cases that could happen very in the near future that would essentially have a family no longer being able to give medical care to their children. Like, it's scary close. But okay.
Yeah. Again, there's a lot of problems for especially trans. I don't understand why your country is so making you a boogeyman.
Yeah,
We're just the
yeah.
scapegoat group for a
I'd say
fascist takeover.
And at least.
Yeah, it's exactly what Lux said. We are the scapegoat for a fascist takeover. That's essentially what it
Yeah.
is. They're going to try to restrict our rights so they can restrict others. That's usually how it starts. They always pick a
Yeah.
target group, marginalize that group, take their rights away, and then they kind of slot in everybody else around them. So yeah, it's a bad state of affairs for our country. So Canadians, please keep us in your thoughts as we continue to fight this fight every day. So, but thank you so much, Jasmine. Your phone's cutting out a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to move on. But thank you for your question. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. All right, bye-bye. All right. Yeah, get those hashtag Team Josie Team Lux in, and we will read them after the chat. It's looking like it's a pretty tough fight. So we're gonna try. I know I saw Olivia in the chat say that they may not be able to hear us, but we're gonna go ahead and give Olivia another Canadian, third Canadian of the day. Oh wait, I didn't hit. I had to click twice. Olivia from Canada. Go ahead. Are you there? Oh no. See
Maybe it's not working
Canadian.
today.
Yeah, it's you know what? I think the United States government's like, oh no, they're talking about fleeing to Canada and now they're breaking the lines. As you can hear in the last call, it was breaking up. So I guess that's what that means. They're wise to us. They're getting wise.
How dare.
Well, Olivia, try to call in another time. I'm so sorry that we couldn't get to your call. But yeah, so that was the last call of our day today. So let's go ahead and get to super chats. And also right before we get to super chats, if you haven't gone to josieformaryland.com yet, make sure you do that. Make sure you do that and donate. It's very, very important to making sure that I can win this race. It's very, very important. The line and TACIS is going to sustain me with small dollar donations. I need them. If you want me to win. And you know what? I already said I'm not going to quit as a host if I get elected. So wouldn't it be great to have an elected official be a host on the line on TACIS? Come on. Let's do that. Let's make that happen. Be Councilwoman Josie coming to you live from TACIS. Let's do
would be
it.
fun.
Let's make it a reality.
Less importantly than that, less importantly though, I'm doing movie reviews now. So get ready for me to do Mulan soon. It's oh my god, dude. I was like I was watching Mulan and I was literally that's every single time I think about Mulan, I'm like, and then I'm like, okay, chill out. But yeah, I'm doing the trans read of Mulan in a movie review. So go subscribe to my channel at Luxander Real and get ready for that.
There's a trans read the Mulan?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy?
It's hard to say
It's
that with a
wild.
straight face. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do
I
it.
know.
Couldn't do it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. It's like, what? And why didn't they cancel Mulan for being woke back then? Pronouns. Mulan demanded he, him pronouns. Like, what the hell? They didn't cancel.
She reluctantly goes back to being a woman at the end, so I guess that makes it okay.
Oh, right. She's just confused.
I know. So sad.
Oh man, so sad. Trans icon erased.
I know. But it's going to be a fun video, so you should go subscribe to my channel and watch my other movie reviews that I've already done. So anyway, that was my plug for the day.
No, that's fun. Did you do the TV Glow? Did you do that one?
I did, yeah. I saw the
TV
TV Glow video came out last week, I think, or the week before maybe. And oh my God, I had like 7 pages of notes from that one that was just like, here's another symbolism and there's another symbolism. So if you want to, watch a trans allegory horror movie, then go watch I Saw the TV Glow and then watch my review of it so that I can explain it to you. There you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, all you have to do is just get buried alive. That's all it takes.
Exactly. That's all you got to do.
That's all it takes. That's all you got to do. So it's just a small thing. Anyway.
All right. Let's get these going.
Yeah. All right. $9.99 from She 11. Yeah, 21. I am driving to. Oh man. See, dyslexia is mean to me. It hurts.
Mhm.
I'm driving to my new life hundreds of miles away from anyone I know. I am socially transitioning at my new job and will finally be able to present full time. I just wanted to share here. Well, thank you so much and congratulations. Sorry you had to do so much, but I'm glad you're getting there. That's great.
Yeah. No vote for that one.
No votes. It's fine. I think it's going to get pretty competitive, though. I'm looking at these super chats.
It's going to be fun. $10 from
gonna be a good
Silver
one.
Twilight. And I'm sorry, everybody. They made some changes to the chat to kind of make it more like Twitch chat. So I know that some of you are like, why is it using my @ handle and not my username? I don't have any control over that. So sorry. I'm gonna read your @ instead of your username.
Why would anybody go for the Twitch model? Like,
I don't know. It's like to reward engagement, I guess, because you get experience points every time you type a message or every time you send a super chat.
I saw some crowns in the chat.
Yeah, it's an additional incentive to get people to interact, which, like, sure, whatever, I don't care. Anyway, thank you, Silver Twilight. I know. I have a growing interest in fashion design. Anyone know of current trans, especially trans mask fashion designers? I'd love to check them out. Also, #TeamLux, and may we please see the kitty. I don't know any. I've seen like videos on YouTube of people being like, here's how you do trans masculine fashion. I don't remember that person's name, but it exists. If you go, check a YouTube search for like trans masculine fashion tips. The only thing that I retained is like, if you're wearing a suit, you don't want to wear a suit that has a deep V and then only meets down here, because that emphasizes your chest if you're binding. So that's like the only tip that I can remember. But yeah, I'll go find my cat. I'll bother him and force him to be on camera.
All right. We'll go ahead and go to the next one. $4.99 from JW Edgy. Y'all know YouTube channels that go over queer history, needing to fill my head with less doomy current events, but I have no self-control. LOL, #Team Lux. And there's Metternotch.
Gotta get the glasses off my face. He's a good boy.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's a giant boy.
Jessica Kelgren Fozard does queer history videos sometimes. I think she focuses a little bit on like lesbian history, but she also did a video about the public universal friend who was a Quaker non-binary person who lived in the late 1800s, I want to say. So yeah, Jessica Kelgren Fozard is like the one that I would recommend.
Yeah, and I unfortunately can't think of anybody on top of my head outside of like the typical mainstream people, but they all talk about news and other things.
Yeah, it's not so much history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for the
Go
$10
ahead.
from Reza Village, who
Yeah.
says, just a thank you to Lux for engaging with a comment I made last week because I realized that my problem with its pronouns is a roundabout form of transphobia. I'm so glad to hear that my arguments have made a difference. That's good.
Yep. Yep.
Look at this old man with his white whiskers. He used to have all black whiskers, if you can believe it. I know.
Aw, how old is he?
I mean, right about like 14 or 15, something like that. He's an old
Oh,
man.
wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, my
this
dog,
is how
you
he
know.
asks permission to get put down, by the way. This is what I've taught him, is that if he rubs his head against me, I will put him down. So this is him just desperately being like, please, I don't want to be up here. You're so good. Okay,
Oh.
he's a sweet baby.
Yeah, $5 from Psycho Billion.
I think it's
I'm sorry
plebeian,
if I butchered
like a pleb.
it. You're so right.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
Psychoplebeian.
plebeian.
Wow. Plebeian. Got it. Wow. Look at you. You say you're dyslexic? Well,
They're
you make
from
me
they're
look
from my.
terrible.
I'm not dyslexic. My husband is dyslexic, but that's also a person from my
Oh.
community. So I'm like, already know the username.
Okay, okay, got it. There should be as many bathrooms as there are people because there are infinite genders. Let's make them all unisex. Agreed.
Make every room a bathroom.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you for the $10 from Sanity Video, who says, if we're limiting access to bathrooms based on a body part you almost never see in public, what effect is that body part even having on people? Hashtag Team Luxander. That's a great thing. Yeah, we didn't bring that up during the call. I kind of wanted to be like, I don't know if your dad has ever been in a women's restroom. Doubt it, but like, there's no get your genitals out in the main room option. There's not like a urinal where people are hiking up their skirts or like, dude, I do think it would be kind of hilarious if for like in a women's bathroom for cis women, like if there was a like urinal and then like a thing for you to put your leg up on, like and like you can hike up your skirt and just like pee. That would be awkward, but gender
It would be
equality, feminism.
awkward, but I'd be okay with this as a woman with bottom
Then you don't have to
surgery.
sit on a
Like,
gross
yes.
toilet seat, like in a public
You know
restroom.
what? I'm for this. I think that would be amazing.
Let's
$10
go.
Canadian for Quantum Chaos, not also known as Quantos Nachos. Normally I'd coin toss to choice, but my wrist is broken. Oh no, I'm so sorry. And it hurts too much. And I'm still mad at Josie for refusing to accept my bribe to change the pawn shop law when she gets elected. So hashtag Team Lux. You know what? I will accept accept the vote for my ethics. Okay, I
I also just
as
want
much
to
as
say, Quantum Chaos broke their wrist in their sleep. They like flailed in their sleep and cracked their wrist on something, and I'm like, wow, what a fucking way to wake up. That's crazy.
no, that sounds awful.
Yeah, but I'm making fun of them a little bit, I
I
guess,
am.
for it now.
Yeah.
$5 from Aliash on a silver bow says, a few weeks ago, I messed up my vote, but not this time. Team Josie, there, I did it. No mistakes this time. Winky. No vote. You didn't get the hashtag. You
Hey,
messed it up on purpose.
messed it up on purpose. Okay,
You think so?
I even called Alishana out and then gave me a winky face like Alishana knew. All right? I see you.
Misbehaving.
Misbehaving. $10 from Psycho Plebe Alien. Does non-binary also mean that you could also identify as both male and female, something else, and a combination of those things? Hashtag Team Lux. The
Short answer,
is yes,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes something will happen and I'll like misgender myself a little bit as a woman, or I'll be like thinking about women's things, or like I was looking up like women's pants and I had like a little feeling of like, oof, ow. And then I was like, Even if I identified as a woman, that doesn't mean I can't be a non-binary too. Meh, like whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
So is it wrong to like find outfits that it's like who says it
just
has to
using
be
search
women's
terms.
pants?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like Eddie Izzard.
Like
They're not women's dresses, they're my dresses.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, 5 Canadian from Quantum Chaos says, Ali Ashana forgot their hashtag, so I'll help them out with this one and definitely not screw up their vote. Hashtag Team Lux. Did I get it right?
Oh my god. This Team Josie, I see you showing up right now, but we gotta show up doubly so because we cannot allow this goose egg to stand, okay?
No hashtag, no vote.
Can't allow it. $5 Canadian from Quantum Chaos. Nope, that's not it. Hashtag Team Arden. It's definitely the right one, or maybe it was hashtag Team Ben. I'm not too good at this. Oh, I remember they voted for hashtag Tia. Man,
Hashtag T.
This is.
$5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Thank you. It's true. So there's going to be a blowout. I can already see it happening. What if we just protect marriage rights by offering health and tax rights to roommates? Just, in the interim. Hashtag darkest of jokes. Hashtag Team Josie. What would society look like if we didn't use our tax system to incentivize monogamous coupling? Super interesting thought.
Yes, exactly.
Yay.
Yay, hellscape. £5 from Mystic Mind Analysis. Not staying long tonight as my mental health is in the pits. Can't switch off from activism. Keep fighting the good fight because I'm exhausted. Right there with ya. Right there with ya. Just take that
a break.
time. Take that time.
Log
I literally
off,
went into the woods.
Literally touch grass. Yes. Go to the woods.
Yes.
Go jump in a cold
Go
lake.
to the woods. Yes. It was great. On a hot day.
Mhm.
It was perfect.
Yes. Next time you're up this way, you should tell me though.
I know.
You were literally
I was
a
in and
couple
out.
hours away from me. It's fine. You're busy.
I know. I will next time. I promise. I promise.
All right. £5 from
you.
Harder Gamer. Oh, by the way, earlier you said something about I'm going to interrogate your manhood, or I'm going to investigate your manhood. And I was like, I'm going to tell my husband I'm going to investigate his manhood when he gets home. Yeah, I know you didn't mean it that way, but I was just immediately investigate my manhood, baby. I don't know. It's so stupid. Anyway, Harder Gamer says, my mind's blank as I've just found out I have reactive hypoglycemia. Sugars are crazily low, so can't work out which side I'm on. But hashtag Team Lux. Oh my gosh. I'm glad that you at least found out what's going on. And hopefully that makes it easier to manage because that sounds bad.
Definitely. Oof. £5 from Justic87. 5 of my real monies for my trans extremist woke left cult friends. Hashtag whoever admits F's Beyond sucks, which I did when it came in. And hashtag Zerba for the line logo. Hashtag love you soon. Agreed with the Zerba thing. I don't know where that is.
Where did that even come from? Where did the Zerba come from?
Zerba comes from when I was doing the fundraiser when Forrest was on with Jimmy as well, and the conversation was if we raised a certain amount of money threshold, we would make Zerba the logo for the line. And I don't know if we reached that threshold, but I'm just gonna assume we did, and Jimmy can go F yourself.
True. This is a point for Josie.
Yeah.
$5 from Bramley CX, who says, hey, are we a left woke cult now? I just got back to the stream. I'm in. Also, Ivysaur is the best. Hashtag team rock, paper, scissors. Yes, of course we're a left woke cult. Obviously we have our cult leader, Jimmy. Clearly.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, do you want to rock, paper, scissors? I always just turn around and do rock, paper, scissors, and then we'll figure it out afterwards.
Ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
I scissors.
Oh no,
we did something gay. Sorry, hold on.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Oops.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Paper. I win. Haha, my points. That was fun.
Yes, it was. It's always fun. Gosh, you are blowing me out of the water this game. $5
I think someone did
from
like a series of Josie votes though, so they'll come in.
It's fine. Yeah. $5 from It's Me, Haley G. Good news. My kid got his passport with the correct gender on it, and I didn't even submit the list building citation form. Oh, great. So relieved. Hashtag Team Josie. Great. That's wonderful. I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah. I need to get one of those probably at some point.
I
Still
do
don't have
too.
a passport. Yeah.
I have a passport, but mine is. I need to get the right gender marker on
Gonna
it.
expire soon.
Anyways, yeah. $5 from. Oh, I just did this one. You go.
Oh, sure. $5 from Yakapo2. I'm so excited for my vaginoplasty next week. 4 years of referrals, consults, and electrolysis. Also, I can do crimes in the women's restroom, obviously. That's so awesome.
Obviously,
I
it's the
am
best part.
wishing you well for your recovery. Yeah. Yeah, the best part.
Yeah.
Going into the
crimes are the
restroom
best
to
part.
pee everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's very affirming. $15. I believe those are Malaysian rubies. Rubies, maybe. I'm not sure. From Fishy, thank you again for calling in. Tiring month, many stressful emotional events hit even for my birthday month. I will keep on fighting for my future siblings. Hashtag Team Lux for non-binary people. Heart, yay.
A vote for Luxander is a vote for non-binary people. True.
Oh, wow.
Make me
Okay,
president of non-binary people. Yeah. Oh, no. All right. £5 from the Fuzzy Logic says, as the Nazis rose to power before World War II, German LGBT plus people fled across the world as refugees. US and Canada refused them because Holland and France were safe. And there's a follow-up message to that. But like, I mean, isn't that literally like the entire justification for the existence of Israel as a country is like just because America refused to take Jewish refugees? Love that. Love that. In continuation, then in 40 and 41, those countries fell. And by 44, the refugees were sent to the camps. As these lessons fade from memory, we risk history repeating for sure. I don't even know if it's a risk at this point so much as like they're deliberately doing that again. But, you know.
It is It is in currently playing the repeat right now. $10 from Aiden Swallow. How dare you both make me have feels before I go to a public event? Amazing call with William. Hashtag Team Josie. Yeah, William's call was great. It was a good call.
I was about to make I always go with William and Billy for that example. And I realized, I was like, wait, your name is William. That's perfect. So that was good.
That was good.
Yeah. £5 from Jessica says, since Josie cheated, hashtag team whoever says Espion sucks first, whose name is not Josie. Hashtag love you soon.
Oh, wow.
I guess Espion sucks. Like I'll lie to get that point. Sure.
Wow, it's a lie though. See?
It didn't need to be honest. There was no qualification that I needed to mean what I was saying.
That's true. Oof.
It's like being a politician. There's no rule that says you're not allowed to lie. See, I'm going to be really good. I'm going to be better at it than you would. Just
apparently. $5 from Lady Darkness 9642. First off, you two are amazing, but now that I've buttered you up, bad joke time. What do you call it when a cow misidentifies as a bull? A mistake.
Yay.
Good pun. It's a good one.
What do you call a fish with no eyes? A fish.
I don't know. Oh my god.
Yay. Bad puns.
Yay.
All right, anyway, thank you for another $5 from Lady Darkness, who adds, and hashtag Team Lux. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Look at you. This is
what won the poll? Was it Jimmy should be on TACIS?
Jimmy.
Was that what won the poll? It went away for me, so I can't see it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we're going to defend the silly position. Whoever loses, Okay, whoever loses has to say Jimmy needs to be on TACIS and as a central featured figure. I guess that's the cool.
And remember, Jimmy wrote the question, so this is actual. He wants to see us defend this because he's been wanting to get on TACIS ever since it started. I know it's true.
Not beating the egg allegations.
Not beating them. $10 from Aiden Swallow. I am very open about being trans because I am a candidate, but I always wear a trans butterfly pin on my vest. My cis allies are more open about calling people out for misgendering me. Hashtag Team Lux. Yeah. Yeah, you're a candidate? Candidate for what? For
There's
office?
been a couple
And I don't
people
know
who
you?
in our community who've said that they're going to be running. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this
Go to
person's normal username is.
transequality.org. Go to transequality.org and apply for our endorsement, please. That would be nice. So we can support you. $5 Canadian from David Haxer. Team Jolteon. But I like Eevee as well. So I guess this is a wash.
That's a no vote. Yeah, that's a throw my vote away vote.
Yeah.
I like Jolteon. I guess I like Vaporeon. Like if I can't choose Eevee, then Vaporeon would be the one. So
Yeah. Jolteon looks very sharp and not cuddly. Like,
yeah, not like a fun friend that you want to chill with on the couch.
Yeah, exactly.
$5. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, yeah, of course.
Okay, $5 from Bramley, who says, I voted no in the poll and now feel bad. If anywhere is a place that needs to be run from, anyone should be willing to take them in. Hashtag team captain. Thank you. I will take that vote. Yeah, I think sometimes people get confused about the wording of the posts, or someone said they voted no because they are still like trying to delusionally convince themselves that there is still like progress to be made, and like they feel like it's giving up on the idea that things could get better if people start to leave the country, I guess. So as usual, y'all have dumb reasons for voting the way you do.
Oh, Lux.
I don't know. It's so frustrating sometimes reading through the responses to the posts. I'm like, y'all are being deliberately obtuse, and I know it. I can tell you're being deliberately obtuse, but whatever. That's our audience.
Yeah, it is $7.29 from Lilith Gatherer. Thank you so much for taking my call. We'll be sure to do as much as I can for GSA and show up every day with a long lanyard. Yes, make it so long it just like trips people as you're walking down the hall. Like,
yeah. I want a girl with a short skirt and a long lanyard. Thank you for the $10 from Ace Arrow Anarchist, who says, tonight is caucus night for my Board of Education candidacy. If all goes well, I'll be officially running in 4 hours, working on the A4TE paperwork. So hashtag Team Josie, hashtag Team Poli-Sci. There we go. So many people in our community are running for local office, and that's what you have to do. You got to show up local, get to know your neighbors, and change things at the grassroots level. That's what we're going to do.
It's so exciting. $5 Canadian from David Haxer, hashtag Team Josie 1. Let's go.
There we go.
Here we go. Here it comes.
Another Canadian 5 from David Haxor, who says Team Josie 2.
Yeah.
I feel like this all started with a Ben 10 joke. Did this start with a Ben 10 joke? I think someone was like, I'm going to donate and vote for Ben and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until it's Ben 10, like the TV show.
I see. $5 Canadian from David Haxer. Apparently, votes made after 5:15 p.m. will be suppressed by the producer. Hashtag Team Josie. Yes, this has happened before. This has happened before.
Thank you for the $5 from Joshua Everett, who says, TACIS definitely needs some big Jimmy energy, which I would love to see Lux defend. So hashtag Team Josie. All right, that's fair. Y'all, you don't know. I've been friends with Jimmy for like 7 years now or something like that. Like, I'm definitely like, I've known him long enough to be one of those people who gives him shit. So I will.
Yeah, that's fair. $5 from Marceline GG for Supreme Court case Mahmoud versus Taylor. What do you do with MoCo kids who opt out of books? Have them watch VeggieTales or Drag Race? Hashtag Team Lux. Yes. I don't know if you're familiar with this. Essentially, we just oh my god.
Stop dying. OMG. No dying on
I know.
camera. We're live.
I can't do it. I know. We're live.
No.
We're live. No. So I don't know what has happened. I was just thinking about this case and it just drove me bonkers enough. I just can't even breathe anymore.
Yep. You were like, I'm leaving this mortal
what
coil.
happened? I know. In Montgomery County, we lost a case that was supposed to protect books in schools, and now parents can now opt out of them and use religious reasons to do so. So yeah, this is not a good thing, and I'm working with the educations associations now to figure out how we can continue to serve everybody with equity and not be discriminatory toward our queer youth here in Montgomery County. So another reason why all of you should please donate to me to make sure that I win this race so we can have solutions to these very, very serious problems.
No more book bans.
No more.
Anyway.
No more.
£5 from Harder Gamer. My head hurts. Hashtag Team Lux. Yeah, I'm sorry. This weekend, I had all of the stupid that happens when you have a headache, but it didn't actually hurt. It was the weirdest 2 days of my life. So I can empathize to some degree.
Yeah. $5 Canadian from Quantum Chaos. Gotta cancel David's vote. Hashtag Team Lux. I knew this is gonna be a very, very tight race.
I mean, there you go. 5 Canadian, David Haxor, Team Josie 4. Did we skip 3? I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Did we skip 3?
We appreciate your donations. No, I think he didn't post 3. Like, sometimes people do that. They'll skip a number. Anyway, thank you for your donations. They're very generous.
I see. They are very generous. I really appreciate them. $5 from Quantum Chaos. Hashtag Team Lux, but this is the last one from me. I did my best. Someone else pick up the torch in defeating Josie's ballot stuffing. This is bad. Keep Team Josie going. Like, this is what needs to happen. So let's keep it going.
Non-binary supremacy. Anyway. Thank you for $5 from Aiden Swallow. Sending to make Josie debate topics she does not agree with, since she will be a future councilwoman. Hashtag Team Josie. Oh no.
Oh my god. $10 from Lover of Laps. Wanted to call about opinions on balancing being visibly queer versus being safe in male-dominated job space, but chickened out. I'll try again next week, but love y'all. Hashtag Team Josie. Yes, please call in. Thank you so much for your donation.
It's me and Arden next week. Call in.
Yeah.
For the 2 spicy people who are trying to be less spicy. Thank you for the £5 from MJ Brocklebank, fascinating name, who says, I'd vote for you in a heartbeat, Josie, but unfortunately I live in the UK. We will be looking for sanctuary in Canada too very soon. Hashtag Team Josie. Yeah, I feel like you guys have a much more credible case to be made, because if the NHS stops hosting your care, then there really isn't like a lot else you can do. And then with the countrywide bathroom ban that just went into effect, like, yeah, I think you should be able to.
It's getting gnarly. It's getting really gnarly there. 5 Canadian from David Haxor. Hashtag Team Josie 6. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Even though you voted for my nemesis. Anyway, $5 from Joshua Everett. Since our dear friend Alia Shona Silverbow seems to be missing the hashtag key, and QC has a poor memory. Hashtag Team Josie. Taking shots at Quantum Chaos. Nice.
£5 from Harder Gamer. There can only be one. Hashtag Team Lux.
Thank you. $9.99 from
Nice.
Faputa Sosu, who says, I'm in a precarious situation at the moment, super scary, but once it's done and over, I think I'll be in a better position in life and finally be able to start my transition and my life. Holding out hope. Hashtag Team Josie. Yeah, I think we're all, any trans person is in a precarious situation right now. And my heart goes out to everybody who is just now figuring out that they're trans and has to navigate it in this system at this time. That sounds like it would be really tough. So my heart goes out to you guys.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck. Yes. $5 from @FreeWolf37. Love you both, but non-binaries for Team Josie. Let's go.
All right. You were close now. This is how it always works. It
We're
always
very
seems really
close.
skewed, and then it becomes neck and neck for the last part. $10 from Aiden Swallow, who says, LOL, Josie, I did apply a few weeks ago. I'm running for U.S. Congress in Arizona
Few weeks.
CV6.
I'm guessing a few days ago is probably what I'm thinking. Because
a few ago. Oh, okay, yeah, I just inserted a word there, didn't I?
yeah.
But yes, they did call. I remember talking to this person.
Okay.
No, a few days ago. A few ago. I was on the show with Lux and Arden like a week ago. Yeah, we did talk about running for office in Arizona, and we were strategizing like what are some things that you could do as a person running in office. Of course, somebody like Josie is a better person to ask. And then like I think Zoe Zephyr also for a little bit was doing like a 15-minute consult call with trans people who want to run for office. So yeah, there are resources out there, and we do encourage people to
she was doing
get
that.
on the
Give
ballot.
her a call and see what she's doing. Yeah. And I think I do remember an AZ city council race going across my desk. So I will get to you soon. I just got back from a lot of traveling. So if you did a few days ago, it's not that I haven't forgotten. It's just that my inbox is exploded. So I'm catching up to that. £5 from Harder Gamer. Why doesn't anyone represent cis people on the net anymore? You would think they were the minority. Hashtag Team Lux. I know. The poor
Listen, I love cis people. I'm literally married to a cis person, okay? How dare you accuse me of being cisphobic? I will sue you for defamation. Anyway,
I know. My partner is a
$5 from
cis woman
Bramley.
too.
Oh, really? Wow, we're both terrible.
Yeah.
I know. It's
Yeah,
the
we
worst.
are. We're terrible transes. We're terrible.
Like the 3 of the 4 hosts are in primary relationships with cis people. Cringe.
Oof, cringe.
I know. Awful. Anyway, thank you for the $5 from Bramley, who says, my disability is too expensive for Canada to accept me, so the front runner if I need to bail is Portugal at the moment. Hashtag Team Non-Binary Pride. Yeah, my friend Anya, I thought like she was telling me that she had some personal conversations with people in the Canadian government and was like advocating that they drop the disability barrier. I don't know to what extent that policy has changed, but I kind of was under the impression that they were going to change it. So I would say like, make sure you're looking into it and talking to immigration lawyers who are actually involved in that process. Cause I understand they're like, whatever, we have a national health service and we don't want to bring in people who are mostly a drain on the economy, which is stupid and obviously ableist. Like I kind of get it, but obviously plenty of disabled people are able to contribute to the economy. So what's the problem, Canada? Get it together.
Yeah, sounds like I need to brush up on my Canadian immigration policies. Like, I just like
people are going to ask about it a
never
lot.
really thought about it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Hashtag Team Lux. Crushing
Was that it?
Oh wait.
Okay. Did one just come in?
Oh my gosh. I think one just come in.
Okay, last one.
Wow.
$5 from Lady Darkness says, sorry, Josie, I meant to send another one to cancel out my other votes. So hashtag Team Josie math and hashtag Team Lux and more math and hashtag bad at math. Yes. That you just canceled out your vote by voting for each of us in this.
Canceled out. It's pain. It's pain. All right. You see this? Everybody better donate right now. Like, I swear to God.
I don't know if you're going to be able to make up 3
not super
votes.
Chatting. I hope that you weren't super chatting so you could donate. That's all. That's the only excuse that I'm making in my head. All right.
Yeah, but true, I am bad at math.
Yeah, and
I think that's it.
That is it. That is all. And now
What?
I have to advocate for Jimmy to be on TACIS mostly.
Yeah, the central figure, I think.
Yeah, the central figure of TACIS. Yeah. Jimmy's acting like he Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it usually
exactly
looks
what it
something
looks
like
like,
that.
except you gotta
You put
put
winner
Josie's
in
the
the text.
loser. Yeah, and
I think the
and
very beginning of the
winner,
video, it
and
like
then the
charges up from
text.
0 and it starts counting down. But yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it did something.
The- it-
People hear me, I guess. So it's not so
Yeah.
weird that there's all that.
Yeah,
It's
as I'm just
Dead
dead
air.
air.
I don't have. Oh wait. Okay. So what's the right supposed to? Okay, Jimmy should be the TACIS star. And
Just Jimmy
See,
should
he
be the
wrote it himself.
TACIS.
and then are these
See?
just your names?
See, he wrote it himself, everybody. He's making it harder for me. Oh, yeah.
Nope.
No. Okay, wait.
Nope. You can just
Arden
put
made
winner
this
and loser.
nonsense. Oh, I see. It's just supposed to say winner or loser.
Yeah, it says winner and loser
Yeah.
typically.
Okay. Arden, come back.
No,
Eventually
tell
we'll
me when
figure
you're
this out.
ready.
Yeah.
Jimmy has been wanting to put loser next to my name for so long. It's too gratifying for him. I don't
At this
dare.
point,
appreciate
so
this.
many people have a conspiracy that I'm an egg that I almost feel transphobic for not even being close to one. I'm like, so not. It's not important to me that people know that, but it's important to me that people stop getting their hopes up because I love being a guy. I do. It's gross, I know, but I don't know what to tell you.
We know.
I get on days
we
my
know,
beard
Jimmy.
looks super good. I start talking with a country accent and think about putting in a chew.
Yeah.
You know.
Do
That's
you
what
do
happens.
you want to get like a lifted truck and like all of it, like the
I
whole
drive
thing?
a truck. It's
Like,
not lifted, but I drive a
see?
truck.
But when you have a nice beard, you want to lift it though, don't you? And you want
I don't know much about that whole world, but I do like being seen getting out of my truck. You know, I'm like,
Oh,
everybody
okay.
look at me. I like yeah, all that.
I bet you fit in great in Texas.
Yeah, I bet you do.
It's totally stealth. Nobody knows.
Totally.
No one knows I'm a communist. They're just like, that guy hates queers. That's what they think.
Would you consider a truck a brodozer? Is it like
I don't know
one
what
of those
that
kind of
word
trucks?
means. I'm not in the Reddits that you are, apparently.
No, that's what we used to call the guys in the Navy that would drive like really big trucks. So we do like, oh, how's your brodozer? Like, come on, like that's
Mine
what it is.
doesn't even have
Come on.
four-wheel drive. Mine's rear wheel, so it's not that manly of a truck, but it's still, you know, but I bought it to haul wood. People, this is what I'm gonna go down to the wood yard and haul them down myself.
In Texas, I'm from Texas, and I know that having a truck that isn't four-wheel drive and at least weighs a couple tons, they just consider you a woman there. So you're not beating the allegations.
All right, well, it's fine. It's got a Hemi. It's got a Hemi.
Oh.
All right, charge up the timer.
You may begin.
He has to have a truck with the name him in it. Anyways, anyways, should Jimmy be the TACIS star? Of course, because how glorious would the show be as soon as he comes out on TACIS? Like the moment Jimmy's on here, we're all gonna get the news that we all are waiting for, which is completely obvious. I mean, no man wants the truck that has him in it without like having some question. I think it's trying too hard, right? Like, I mean, obviously, like he thought like a non 4-wheel drive truck was manly. I mean, could the clues be more obvious? And I mean, honestly, has the idea of having a beard, having a nice beard, does he not know that there are some fabulous trans women with some freaking kick-ass, glittery, sparkly, perfect beards? I mean, come on. It's true. It exists. and the allegations cannot be beaten. So honestly, TACIS would be lost if Jimmy wasn't one of the stars here, because we can see the beginning of a beautiful transition. And then 5 years later, we can see that glittery beard on this beautiful trans woman that was formerly known as Jimmy. We'll call her Miss Snow, right? It's a great drag name. Like Miss Snow, like wearing the perfect little glittery blue dresses, and then like as he comes up, we could change the TACIS theme song to "Let It Go," right? The cold doesn't bother her anyway. I mean, obviously, this is a clear case, clear cut example of what is needed on TACIS to give it that extra little glamour, that extra little bit of, you know, queenness that a Miss Snow would bring to the show.
I don't know if you really did the excitement since you made up a fantasy version of me. We'll call it Jimmy the X-Man because that's funny. Think about it.
Hey,
But
listen, a
anyway.
denial beard. You've never heard of a denial beard? You got a denial
Yeah.
truck.
Well, okay, that has nothing to do with being trans. My girlfriend is my
Denial
denial
truck.
beard. But that's not about being
okay.
trans. That's about the other
Wait,
stuff.
no.
sure.
Girlfriends, you can have a girlfriend and be a trans woman.
I was talking about the word
exemplify
beard.
that.
The word beard, when you have a girlfriend and you're gay, the word
It's
beard
when you
means,
hide that you're gay. Yeah.
Then the girlfriend is the
No,
beard.
Okay.
Yeah, I have terrible news
Okay.
for you all. I've never even done drag. I'm saving that for like a good charity goal
Ooh,
one day.
If we get to like a certain
Ooh.
number of like a certain dollar amount on Patreon, like if we're getting a certain amount
Oops.
per month, oh no,
Ah.
she's gone.
Oh no, I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm
but
here.
you should do a
Wait.
drag
Oh no.
show. I can hear you.
Yeah, I was thinking about
You can hear me.
either
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna go back.
we've got some different goals and stuff, but yeah, probably if we got like 2,500 individual paid patrons, which we're like 750. I think right now at 2,000, if we get to 2,000 before the month of August is over, is what the goal is going to be from 700 or so that we're at now. We're going to make Zerba the official mascot of the line.
Okay.
Okay.
And
That's
then if we
great.
get to 2,500, I'll do a drag.
Would you
drag
be Miss
thing.
Snow? I
Sure,
has
I
to
don't
be
care.
Miss Snow.
We could use another fundraiser attempt to let the audience name me, and I'll be named whatever. I don't give a shit. I mean, they're gonna come up
True.
with something
I
weird.
feel like there has to be a pun. Like that's what makes a drag name good. It has to be a pun or something. So we got to workshop
Miss
this.
Sticky Snow. I don't know.
Why do you gotta make it
Snow.
gross?
Well,
What's wrong with you?
See. This is how you know Jimmy is not trans. Right there. That right there.
Like why?
Because I made a cum joke. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't think that has to do with me being cis. I think it has to do with me being legendary.
Oh sure. Okay.
Okay, but I
Okay.
did
Stop
also
making the
just,
show all about you.
I did just quote
He's
Barney
already-
from
see, he did
How I
it.
Met Your Mother, which also doesn't help that I'm definitely
See,
cis.
this is what you would get as Jimmy as TACIS star right here. Everybody getting the full amount of it right here.
Iconic episodes.
Iconic episodes.
Anyway,
just like
you should watch our shows next week, which are
Yes.
starting on Sunday, and join the Patreon. Roll credits.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
let's get out of here. The cisness is too much in the room.
Thank you, everybody, for supporting us. You can join our Patreon. We have some patron goals coming up here soon. You can get the secret private stuff that we have. Get your name on the list. The list gets longer every time. Isn't that wonderful? Support the show,
Yeah.
support the production, as well as all the hosts by joining with a subscription on Patreon. Okay?
And Lycon Online
Love you.
Live launching soon.
True.
Oh, look at
Later,
that.
losers.
There we go. Bye.